Hey guys, tonight we're unraveling why ancient metalworkers believed iron could sing, and why you'll wish you'd brought earplugs. Picture this: a Nigerian village before dawn, no roosters, yet just the low thrum of something metallic gnawing at your skull. Oh, they don't tell you this part in history class: how one wrong hammer stroke could have rewritten your bloodline. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and local time below. Let's sync pulses across time zones. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're ankle deep in red laterite soil, bare toes curling against clay, still warm from yesterday's forge. Somewhere in 12th century, Yoruba land, where every breath tastes like charred palm kernels, that sound comes again, deeper than a didgeridoo, vibrating your molars. Archaeologists found furnaces here older than Oxford University, stacked clay pipes, whispering secrets under excavation brushes. But tonight, you're not here for carbon dating. You're here because great-grandmother Anik swears iron gossips when smelted right. And you've got trust issues with silent metal. The smithy emerges through termite haze, a mud hut squatting under coiled smoke. Inside, blackened bellows huff like asthmatic dragons. Your fingers brush a soot-caked anvil. Wrong move. The vibration hits before the sound, a subwoofer hum traveling up your wrist bones. Elders call this ero O grav R, I grav letter 1E63, a voice of the god in the ore. Don't let the poetry fool you. That singing's just stressed metal molecules or angry ancestor spirits. Historians still argue whether these rhythms were spiritual code or primitive physics. Your torch dies as embers bloom, 3 charcoal mounds glowing like trapped sunsets. A shadow moves. Master Smith Knee scrapes ore into the furnace, each nugget handpicked from riverbeds. His apprentices swear certain rocks scream when pried loose. You smirk until a hematite chunk rolls toward your foot, its surface etched with banded iron formation, stripes older than photosynthesis. Geology joke: Earth's first iron came from space. But the Yoruba knew better, claimed Ogun himself planted meteorites like yam seedlings. Ni needs the fire, ash tattooing his forearms. Charcoal crumbles under bronze tongs, a tool archaeologists found in Ife dating back to the 9th century. Your eyes water from the heat, or maybe the fumes. See that? The furnace's clay pipes flutter like didgeridoo reeds, air ducts turning combustion into bass notes. A smith's worth his salt if he can match breath to bellow songs. Screw it up, your blade comes out brittle as British humor. Something shifts in the flames. The ore's bleeding, molten tears pooling in the furnace pit. Ni chants, Yoruba vowels bending around the fire's crackle. His ancestors probably argued with the same coals. You catch 2 words: Ogun's breath. Workshop ledgers from the Benin Kingdom mention priests blessing forges with palm wine, the original WD-40. But here's the kicker. Smiths would bury flawed blades at crossroads. Why? To trick evil spirits into thinking they'd reached hell already. The song sharpens, an F-sharp drone cutting through pre-dawn mist. Your teeth ache. Knee nods to his eldest apprentice time to pour. Molten iron slithers into molds shaped like arrowheads. Ever notice how freshly cast metal gleams blue? Yoruba smiths called this Ogun's sweat, claiming it held prophetic visions. Modern metallurgists point to oxide layers. But try telling that to the apprentice who swore he saw his death in a cooling machete. Dawn cracks the horizon. The furnace cools into a charcoal corpse, its song fading to tinnitus whine. You're left with 43 arrowheads and a headache. Knee wipes soot from his brow, revealing scars that mirror the forge's cracks. His hands shake, not from exhaustion, from holding divinity. Smithsonian-approved fact. Yoruba blacksmiths were considered part artisan, part priest. Quirky footnote. Some smiths placed yam slices on the anvil at night, snack bribes for metal spirits. Footsteps crunch outside. Farmer a day drops a broken hoe at the threshold, its fractured edge whistling in the wind. Knee scowls. Broken tools mean jealous spirits. He'll reforge this one with iron sand from 7 villages, confusing the haunting. You pocket an iron shard. Later, under hotel fluorescence, it thrums against your chest. Sleep comes in fitful bursts. In dreams, the shard sings in pentatonic scales. When you wake, your smartphone's shattered. Coincidence? UNESCO lists this region's metalwork as intangible heritage. Your phone carrier lists the damage as user error. The village stirs, women pounding yam flour in rhythms that mirror yesterday's hammer strokes. A child passes, sucking on an iron pendant. Yoruba mothers once filed baby teeth with metal dust, believing it helped infants hear the ore. You spit out your toothpaste, suddenly grateful for modern dentistry. Knee's forge remains silent. Smiths say iron naps until moonrise, recharging its vocal cords. You check your vibrating shard. Nothing. Maybe imagination, maybe cellular data, or maybe, just maybe, the Earth's still trying to teach you how to sing. Firelight paints stories on the workshop walls, dancing shadows of Ogun shaping the world's first blade. Your fingers trace tool scars on the anvil, each groove a verse from mythology's oldest metallurgy manual. Historians agree the Yoruba deity's influence stretched beyond West Africa. His name echoes in Haitian Vadu blades and Cuban Santeria rituals. But tonight, in this sweltering forge, he's just your overworked colleague, sweating through creation's encore. You blow ash off a half-formed hoe, its curve mirroring the crescent moon hung above. Every strike retells the legend. Metal submits only when reminded of its divine parentage. The tricks in the wrist flick, Ogun's signature move when he forged existence from celestial scrap, miss the rhythm and iron rebels, bending into shapes that curse your grandchildren. Charcoal cracks like laughter. glance up, half expecting to see the god himself lounging in the rafters. Smelting pits double as time machines hear pungent smoke carries whispers from 7 centuries back. Archaeological digs near Ife unearthed 9th century tools matching your designs, proof that ritual outlives empires. Yet no museum plaque mentions the real magic. How hammers dream in triplets when forging marriage talismans. A spark lands on your forearm. It sizzles the same pitch as Ogun's primordial chant. Old texts claim he pounded the first sword while straddling a comet, multitasking before it was trendy. Modern metallurgists would scoff, but you've seen heat-treated steel weep when village elders die. The anvil thrums beneath your palms, perspiration pooling, where gods once dripped star stuff. Elders swear certain, hoes hum famine warnings before drought strikes, their song rooted in Ogun's deal with Earth herself. Break metal on Yam Festival Eve and listen close. The ringing counts next season's hungry months. Skeptics call it folklore until their silent tools leave fields barren. You keep a problematic hoe above the doorway. Its dents form a spiral that repels tax collectors. Molten iron swirls like liquid astronomy, constellations trapped in earthly sludge. That quirksmith in Oyo once sold arrowheads etched with Orion's belt, said they'd never miss. Buyers laughed until rival hunters returned empty-handed for weeks. Historians still argue whether ritual patterns copied star maps or vice versa. Try asking the anvil, and it'll sing you 16 conflicting answers. Bellows wheeze like tired gods. You dodge a spit of slag, Ogun's idea of workplace banter. His mythos got a glow up over millennia. Now he's patron saint of engineers and roadside mechanics. The original job description was simpler: stop humanity from eating raw mammoth. Tonight's project: fixing a fisherman's rusted knife. The client needs it by dawn. Apparently mackerels respect divine craftsmanship. Embers die as you quench the blade, a hiss that mimics Ogun's last words to mankind. Don't make me come back down here. Fat chance. Tomorrow brings another broken plow, another chance to play backup singer in metal's endless hymn. Dawn leaks through soot-streaked vents, your lungs sinking with the bellows. Leathery gasp. Each pump follows Ogun's original breath count. Inhale 4 beats, exhale 12. Blow too fast, and the fire sputters like a god choking on weak coffee. 18th century ledgers from the Oyo Empire document identical rhythms. Colonial traders mistook it for ritual drumming. They weren't entirely wrong. You feed air to glowing coals, their crackle rising in pitch. Heat licks your cheeks with the devotion of 1,000 cursed fans. That Benin City exhibition last rainy season had replicas of these bellows. Curators called them pre-industrial marvels. Real smiths know the truth. They're just lungs made from goat hide and regret. The client's broken cooking pot squats on the anvil, its cracks resembling a disappointed frown. You whisper apologies to the metal iron forgives faster if you acknowledge its divinity. Bellows wheeze like asthmatic ancestors as you work. Old apprenticeships required breath-holding contests. Record holders claimed iron, sang clearer underwater. Most just passed out. Molten metal swirls its surface rippling with half-formed faces. Elders say those are unborn tools begging for shapes. Scientists blame carbon monoxide hallucinations. You split the difference. Name each blob after ex-lovers and hammer accordingly. Fire flares as you strike, the rhythm echoing Lagos traffic jams. Red embers pulse like brake lights, stretching into infinity. Your hammer becomes a metronome, 8 beats to reshape destiny, 13 to dodge bad luck. Modern welders use regulators. You let the bellows, arrhythmia decide. Historians still argue whether the staggered breaths purified alloys or just entertained bored smiths. A hot coal pops launching toward your forehead. You dodge like a priest, avoiding divine eye contact. The client's pot starts glowing its fractures, knitting together in metallic scar tissue. 30 generations back, your forebear allegedly resuscitated a chief by breathing through ritual bellows. The current village pharmacist rolls his eyes, but keeps selling you aspirin. Sweat drips onto the anvil, evaporating into tiny screams. You hum a lullaby your mother sang, each note bending the fire's hunger. Bellows wheeze countermelodies passed down since knock terracottas were fresh clay. That traveling bard last dry season tried, setting the rhythm to jazz, nearly got skewered by a flying chisel. Metal cools into a seamless curve, the pot's new belly smooth as a taxed accountant's lies. You quench it in palm oil, steam hissing village gossip. Urban chefs would kill for this cookware. Their induction stoves can't mimic ancestral sizzle. 3 boys peer through the workshop slit, their synchronized gasps fogging the air. Bellows sag against the wall, exhausted after another all-nighter. You reward them with a splash of palm wine. Tradition demands it. The pot clangs when lifted, a middle C sharp enough to slice yams. Clients pay extra for that note. It supposedly wards off food poisoning. Sunlight invades the forge, your signal to quit before iron gets chatty. You bank the coals with ritual care. Buried embers hum tomorrow's to-do list. The pot's owner arrives whistling. His tune clashes with the residual vibrations. Metal groans. Some people never learn. The molten iron drools over your anvil, golden threads spinning into rust-red spirals. Your tongs dance like spider legs, weaving metal into shapes the living shouldn't recognize. 16th century Benin plaques show identical patterns. Colonial museum tags call it decorative flair. Local elders spit at those displays. Their grandmothers carved those swirls to imprison greedy spirits. You flick a lead bead into the spiral's core. It hisses like a scolded child. Your teacher swore trapped demons hate leads taste. They writhe until metal hardens into prison bars. An anthropology journal once called this ritualistic metallurgy. You call it supernatural housekeeping. 1897, British invasion looted thousands of these traps. Curators still find them corroding in Essex attics. Historians debate whether the patterns encoded messages or just scared burglars into thinking twice. Coils tighten as you spin the rod, each rotation synced to your heartbeat. Too fast, the metal remembers its fiery anger. Too slow, it grows sullen and brittle. That university lab in Ibadan proved 3 clockwise turns maximize tensile strength. Traditional practice said 6 for spiritual security. You split the difference and bill clients extra. A spiral cools too quickly, its lowest curve jutting like a broken rib. You sigh, this'll take flattery. Whisper compliments to the iron, praise its flexibility, its radiant glow. Hammer lightly, a lover's tap rather than a scolding slap. Metal softens, always vain for validation. 19th century Yoruba ledgers describe smiths reciting odes. One woke village claimed their anvils blushed crimson mid-forge. Sweat drips onto your wrist. The droplet skitters across hot metal like a panicked roach. You carve a tiny hook into the spiral's apex. Last month's client demanded these for his new yam barn, said spirits were nibbling his crop yields. You didn't ask how he knew rich men blame pests for all their rot. Fumes blur your vision. The molten lines now resemble your cousin's wedding henna. You mimic her hand motions, loops curving into half-moon eyes. Your assistant once called this modern art, until a commissioned spiralscape gave his mother nightmares. She paid double to have it melted. Firelight glints off the cooling metal, its surface alive with shadow stitches. You bury the finished piece in ash, a cooling tactic older than the Songhai Empire. Wait too long, it hardens into spite. Too short, it stays soft and gossipy. Archaeologists found similar bundles in Timbuktu ruins. Carbon dating matched Mansa Musa's Hajj years. Coincidence? You hum a trading caravan tune. The iron vibrates in response. Dusk brings sticky air, your spirals now stacked like metallic snakes. A customer inspects them with a jeweler's loupe, his nose hairs singeing in the heat. He asks if they'll work against European ghosts. You shrug. Colonial spirits prefer haunting wine cellars, not yam stores. He pays in crumpled naira, leaves, muttering about Portuguese shipwrecks. The last spiral sings as you quench it, high-pitched warbles like a child's forgotten flute. You dip it in shea butter, post-forge skincare, even metal deserves. Tomorrow's buyer wants 50 units protection against election year curses. You count the spirals, pause at 49. Forge one extra always. Let the last be your silent critic. Your hammer rests, its handle greasy from palm oil and bad decisions. A cold wind slips through the workshop, spiraling dust devils around your ankles. You swear softly, spectral hitchhickers love unfinished metal. The newest spiral hums, a lullaby or warning, depending on the hour. You pour a libation, watch shadows dance until the moon pales. Your hammer rises. The pause between strikes hangs thick as forge smoke. Down it crashes, a clang splitting the humid air into 12 trembling echoes. Village elders claim these vibrations weave proverbs, metal remembering the shape of ancient advice. Miss a count, and your harvest blade might whisper war slogans instead of rain prayers. The sun hasn't cleared the Iroko trees, yet your fire's glow paints the workshop walls amber. A cracked hoe head glows on your anvil, its split edge grinning like a fool's mouth. You start the ritual, 1 strike to wake the iron's memory, 2 to honor its mother's sacrifice, 3 for what was third again. Damn, start over. Your grandfather's voice rumbles through muscle memory, 12 strikes for prosperity, 7 for deceit. He swore a Lagos blacksmith once encoded divorce papers into a cooking pot's base. Court messengers boiled stew over it for months before noticing the verdict. Sweat pools where your leather apron meets collarbone, the liquid courage of overtime labor. You're recasting a fishhook for old man Ade. His usual order demands 7 warning strikes. Says it scares off river spirits stealing his catches. Last week, he hauled in a bronze bracelet instead of catfish. Might want to rethink his strategy. Iron hisses as you quench it. Steam curls upward like cursive threats. A customer's shadow darkens your door, Mrs. Bellow, clutching a hairpiece eaten by termites. Gold-plated, she says, though the corrosion smells suspiciously like cheap brass. 9 strikes, she insists, fertility number for her daughter's wedding gift. You nod, it's her money to burn. The first 3 hammer falls sing true, clear tones, echoing into the chicken coop next door. Hens cluck eurythmically, their disgust at interrupted dawn rituals obvious. 4, 5. A student walks past with headphones blaring Afrobeats, his sneakers kicking up red dust. 6. The rhythm falters. You catch a whiff of over-charcoal beef from the night market. 7. 8. The 9th strike lands crooked, sparks skittering like cockroaches from a flipped log. Misses, Bellow gasps, as if you've stabbed the metal instead of shaping it. You shrug, bargain rates get bargain precision. She'll blame the spirits either way. Noon brings the sting of ginger ointment, your blisters protesting last night's double shift. A government official arrives, polished shoes crunching ashes into cursive swirls. His Mercedes idles outside, engine purring like a contented leopard. Commission. 12 strike ceremonial swords for some ministry's anniversary. You quote a price that makes him choke on his cinnamon gum. Extortion, he croaks. You point to the 1893 tax ledger nailed by the door colonial officers paid your great-grandfather in thumb cuffs and Bible pages. The official pays half up front, muttering about UNESCO grants. You'll use the extra to buy earplugs. Politicians' promises ring louder than any anvil. Sweat-drenched hours later, the swords glint with false promises. 12 perfect strikes each, the rhythm monotonous as a civil servant's commute. Your assistant loads them into banana leaf shrouds, keeps the metal's ego in check during transport. You pocket the cash, discreetly donating a third to the orphanage downriver. Iron's karma cuts both ways. Dusk lingers like a refused bribe. Shadowy, customers arrive with rusted regrets. A teenager cradles a motorcycle chain snapped mid-ride, each link etched with suspicious glyphs. You count 7 strikes to reforge it. His sigh of relief smells like marijuana and panic. Let the elders handle his spiritual audit. You're a blacksmith, not a priest. Later, under kerosene lamp glow, you examine your hammer's weathered face. Chips and dents map 2 decades of coded conversations. That deep groove. 2010, when Chief Alu demanded 19 strikes for a supreme victory. The resulting machete got stuck in a mango tree. Victory never tasted so fibrous. Hunger gnaws. You unwrap leaf-wrapped amala left by the market vendor. Her son built your chimney last dry season. Payment was 11 strikes on a marriage bracelet. The beef stew kicks like a startled stallion. You make a note to dilute it tomorrow. The moon climbs. Its light silvers the piles of rejected metal. Every misfit bolt and shattered plowshare hums atonal lullabies. Historians still argue whether strike patterns served practical records or just helped drunk smiths count. You dump charcoal over the coals. Tomorrow's fire deserves a fresh start. Last task, clean the anvil with raw cotton soaked in sour milk. The ritual erases today's mistakes, or at least the visible ones. Your reflection warps in the polished steel, a funhouse mirror version of your father's frown. Sleep will come, but the hammers in your dreams never miss a beat. The crucible glows like a captured sunset, its clay belly full of murmuring stones. You learned this recipe at 14, when your master made you swallow molten zinc as punishment. Now each pebble's melt song triggers that same metallic aftertaste. Tonight's batch demands oyster shells, crushed to powder, with a mortar older than your grandfather's grudges. European scholars once called this primitive smelting. Never mind that Yoruba furnaces hit 1,200 degrees C centuries before Celsius had a thermometer. You whisper the first secret name, day, as charcoal dust swirls into the mix. Historians still argue whether these terms encoded chemical ratios or just scared apprentices from touching the good tongs. Liquid metal froths, its surface blooming with iridescent bubbles. One pops, releasing a stink like burning fingernails. That's the chicken feathers doing their work, each plume added at midnight during waning moons. Your cousin in Abuja swears swapping owl feathers makes the iron magnetic. But you're not trying to build a compass. The mold waits terracotta hearts stacked like forbidden valentines. Their inner surfaces glitter with mica dust, stolen from the chief's ceremonial headdress last dry season. Pourings all in the wrists, a clockwise spiral that mimics hurricane patterns. Mess up, and the cooling metal sighs for weeks, its complaints audible through thin walls. Ghosts cluster near the steam, their shadow hands reaching for the crucible's warmth. You toss a handful of blended salt and dried violets, the same mix colonial reports once mislabeled as tribal face paint. The spirits retreat, sputtering about modern shortcuts. Grandma's generation used ground snail shells. But who's got time for mollusk politics? 3 heart ingots cool by dawn, their surfaces etched with accidental fingerprints. You polish them with shea butter, the golden grease masking secret symbols pressed beneath. Clients think they're buying jewelry, never guessing these shapes once stored ancestral memories. That tourist from Frankfurt nearly choked when her pendant hummed during a thunderstorm. The leftover dregs go into a bamboo tube, labeled fertilizer to deter thieves. Last month's batch sprouted beanstalks with metallic leaves. Their rustling sounded like a drunkard reciting love poems. You buried them behind the latrine where strange botany belongs. Mid-morning brings Mrs. Adekanal and her special project, a brass necklace needing personality enhancement. Translation: her husband's mistress wears finer gold. You slip a heart ingot into the alloy, its true purpose disguised as a clasp. 12 days from now, she'll marvel at how the metal accidentally scratches his neck during date nights. Lunch smells off the goat meat, shimmering with dubious iridescence. You trade it to the carpenter's dog for silence. He's been howling your furnace schedules to the whole compound. The mutt gulps it down, then immediately digs a hole to bury his own tail. Smart Creature, Nigerian Metallurgy Journal Volume 22 lies open by the bellows. A white researcher's paper on indigenous pseudoscience, dog-eared at page 43. His diagrams miss the crucial step, the spit and coconut water quench that prevents metal fatigue. Let him wonder why his replicas crack during basic stress tests. The governor's niece arrives at sundown, her silk heels sinking into ash piles. She wants a heart ingot turned into earrings, something subtle for the Lagos gallery opening. You hammer crescent shapes carefully, each strike tuned to disrupt wireless microphones. Her political uncle's speeches could use more unrecorded moments. Deep night, your youngest apprentice lingers after cleanup. His palms bear fresh burns from mishandled ingots, the skin bubbling like cheap plastic. You smear them with a poultice of crushed cockroach wings and diesel, a formula that give WHO inspectors nightmares. By sunrise, the burns will heal as silver scars. His first visible secret. Starlight filters through the roof's corrugated holes, spotlighting the anvil's central dent. This close to midnight, the metal admits its truths freely. You catch phrases in Yoruba proverbs, and what might be a radio jingle for 90s era peak milk. Either the iron's going senile, or your ears need more palm wine disinfectant. The final task beckons, reburying the ritual tongs beneath the neem tree. Soil here stays suspiciously loose. 4 previous generations of smiths made this same pilgrimage. As your shovel strikes something ceramic, you pretend not to hear the muffled chant rising from the broken urn below. Some ancestors just won't be evicted. Cocks crow, their screeches clashing with the soft hiss of cooling ingots. You rub a thumb over today's masterwork, a heart the size of a child's fist. Its surface ripples like frozen mercury, ready to hold whichever secret the buyer deserves. Down the road, a taxi backfires in harmonic minor, a decent approximation of the crucible's morning aria. Your left boot sticks to the floor-dried palm sap or congealed metal sweat. Who bothers checking anymore? Dawn's first flies arrive, their buzzing syncopated against the furnace's residual hum. One lands on the governor's niece's earring prototype, its wings melting instantly into the alloy. You add insect inclusions to next month's experiment list. The village wells creak awake, their pulley rhythms merging with your yawns. 3 heart ingots shine dully in their banana leaf cradle, patient as unread love letters. You blow ash from their surfaces, releasing a miniature dust storm that settles in your neighbor's open soup pot. Let history record today's work as indigestion. Fatigue blurs the walk home, half dreaming of liquid metal rivers. Your gate's padlock has developed a new warble, its pins ground down by amateur lockpicks. You make a mental note to cast replacement parts tomorrow, using the thief's own crowbar as raw material. The crucible hums approval from 3 compounds away. The furnace coughs ash into your coffee, a burnt offering to whatever god oversees sleep deprivation. You've been decoding fire speech since moonrise, charcoal cracks forming Yoruba syllables only elders recognize. One log snaps sharply, ka, the sound old smiths translate as feed me palm oil. You drizzle counterfeit diesel instead. The flames hiss a vulgarity your apprentice shouldn't repeat. African metallurgy texts rarely mention this, how 18th century Oyo Empire smiths used termite mound clay for bellows. Bristlecone pine is what scholars focus on. Never mind that your 3-legged bellows predate Pythagoras. The fire spits a phrase meaning foreign ignorance, its dialect thicker than your late uncle's stew. That blue flicker at the core, your master called it Ogun's gossip, a living flame reporting village scandals to the gods. You rake coals to disrupt the tale. Last week, it mentioned your cousin's smuggled Nollywood DVDs. Historians still argue whether these oral traditions documented real events or just gave Smiths plausible deniability during tax season. Midnight brings the hazardous part, negotiating with stubborn embers. You offer cassava flour as peace offering. The fire licks it up greedily. Now's the time to request malleable iron, whispering promises of weekly palm wine libations. Refuse and tomorrow's ingot will develop a stutter, its surface pitted like a clumsy teenager's first weld. Your competitor downriver uses gas heaters, modern nonsense that makes iron whimper. Last month, his anvil cracked mid-strike, the fracture shaped like a mocking laugh. You toss sacred cola nuts into your forge. Their explosive pops sound suspiciously like I told you so. Dawn approaches. The flame language simplifies into basic verbs. Burn, melt, sleep. You answer with a shovel of wet sand, quenching the conversation. Residual heat paints shadow puppets on the wall, a donkey, a crown, something that might be a dysentery diagram. The first ingot emerges at sunrise, slightly crooked from that third-round argument about your love life. You bury it under cassava plants. Their tubers will absorb the metal's grumpiness. Market goers will pay extra for vegetables that sharpen machetes by proximity. An elder arrives as you're packing up, her breath reeking of cola nut and ketogenic righteousness. She claims last week's ho-hums Gregorian chants every full moon. You blame recycled railroad steel, quietly noting it came from a demolished Catholic mission. When she leaves, you file exorcism surcharge under future business plans. Lunch is cold fufu and regret. Your mid-bite when the furnace erupts, a popcorn-like volley of angry snaps. Forgot the farewell ritual, 3 clockwise sweeps, and a lie about returning tomorrow. The flames settle after you toss in a faux gold necklace from Mrs. Adekanal. Nothing placates fire like the taste of false promises. By afternoon's second wind, you're teaching the apprentice flame echo techniques. Clang the hammer once, listen for the fire's 4-note response. He gets it wrong. The rebound scorches his eyebrows into surprise arches. His next attempt produces something resembling Apollo music. Progress smells like burnt hair and optimism. City traders arrive with museum-quality replicas, machine-pressed copies, missing the resonant chambers. You demonstrate by tapping one. It rings like a dead man's cough. Their faces fall. You soften the blow with mythic flair. Iron needs human breath to sing. You lie patting the bellows like a favored child. Cash changes hands anyway. Dusk brings the fire's final mood, sentimental embers recounting your grandfather's first forge. Sparks land on your forearms, translating to heat your pricing strategy. You let them burn unchecked. Ancestral critique stings less than a lone shark's texts. The last task: bribe the hearth with dried fish so it won't gossip tonight. You hang a tilapia head from the chimney, its glassy eyes catching moonlight like surveillance cameras. Down the road, the governor's convoy backfires, its exhaust notes accidentally harmonizing with your cooling anvil. A duet of unintended truths. Sleep comes in furnace-red fragments. Dreams replay the fire's words. Most complaints about drafty chimneys. One urgent warning about insufficient breakfast eggs. You wake chasing the meaning. Is this prophecy or indigestion? The rooster's crow settles it time to make omelets and bad decisions. Your boots crunch over yesterday's mistakes. A spilled jar of aluminum powder, glittering like frozen anger. The apprentice mops inadequately, his burn dressings clinking with every swipe. You'll let him clean the crucible today. Nothing teaches respect for fire like scrubbing its dried spit. Post-lunch haze blurs the lines. Flame shadows now look like your third-grade teacher miming disapproval. You check the coal quality, maybe Spanish imports, instead of local smokeless. The fire inhales greedily, exhaling a dialect your mother used when cutting fabric too short. Closing time brings sweet relief, and the furnace's passive-aggressive sigh. You grant it one last coconut husk. The smoke forms cursive swirls reading in grate. Neighbors' generators drown the hissing retort, a modern mercy. Walking home, you spot fresh graffiti on the smithy wall, a child's chalk drawing of fire, speaking in cartoon bubbles. The pigeon translation. Oga, your charcoal day expire oh. You pocket the chalk. Future invoices might need visual aids. Dinner's fish stew bites back, Scotch bonnet vengeance for this morning's bribe. As you cough, the furnace's laughter rumbles across the compound. Some relationships thrive on mutual grudges, a truth no textbook, metalworking guides ever mention. Meteoric iron arrives wrapped in raw silk, the deliveryman's motorcycle helmet grinning with poorly drawn UFOs. You pay in pre-1960 coins. The metal recognizes inflationary lies, and feel the ores pulse through the cloth. It's warmer than flesh, as if still burning from its interstellar plunge. History books mention Tutankhamun's dagger, that celestial blade forged from nickel-rich meteorites. You've seen photos, its gold handle hiding the real treasure steel that remembers Egyptian nights before pyramids. Your chunks crisscrossed with Widmanstetten patterns, those geometric scars from cooling over millions of years. Experts think it landed during the Yoruba civil wars. Bullets couldn't pierce armor quenched in star metal. The first strike rings different, a high-pitched key-in that shatters your drinking gourd. Blacksmiths call this O-grav R, I-grav letter 1E63, S tinnitus. Proof the metal hasn't forgotten zero-gravity symphonies. You adjust your grip, gloves stuffed with dried banana leaves for insulation. Steam rises where sweat meets scorched leather. It smells like burnt marshmallows and regret. Legend says meteorite iron yearns for milk. Something about cosmic calves nursing newborn metals. You've got a jug from Mrs. Ockefer's temperamental goat, the one that headbutted the census taker last spring, dipping the glowing metal. The milk curdles instantly, forming Rorschach blots that kinda look like Elon Musk. Elders would call this blasphemy. Your apprentice just mutters space yogurt behind his welding mask. Historians still argue whether quenching hardness actually changes, or if it's psychological warfare against rival smiths. You're too busy dodging spitting droplets. Each sizzle sounds like a tiny supernova. The cooled blade reflects your face in fragments, 5 noses, 3 chins, a Picasso portrait forged in deep time. Goats start congregating at your workshop, pressing wet snouts against the meteor chunk. Farmers swear their milk production triples near star metal, though you've caught them sneaking extra feed. One doling named Ngozi glares while you work. Her hooves tap rhythms matching the anvil's song. You leave wilted kale as peace offering she'd prefer your shoelaces. Nightfall reveals the metal's true voice, a Doppler-shifted hum that rises as you yawn. Town kids nickname it the anxiety asteroid. They've placed bets on when you'll start sleepwalking. By week's end, your dreams feature panicked asteroids fleeing Spotify playlists. The algorithm gone sentient and judgmental. Final tempering requires 7 palm oil rubs, each clockwise swirl, lowering the pitch. Done right, the blade sings a nursery rhyme your mother swore came from bush spirits. You mess up the 5th rotation. The edge retaliates by bending sideways during demonstration. Clients assume it's avant-garde design, transfer extra cash while nodding sagely. On delivery day, heat lightning crackles as you box the sword. The recipient's Merced's idols with bass-heavy Afro beats, its subwoofers warping the Meteoric's harmonic signature. As taillights fade, you swear the remaining scrap metal murmurs traitor in binary. Ngozi, the goat, eats your remaining kale, then headbutts the anvil in solidarity. The newborn blade's wail pierces through the forge, a grating scree that sends sparrows fleeing their palm frond nests. You catch yourself rocking the anvil, left, right, left, like consoling some colicky metal infant. Ash coats your arms thicker than mosquito netting. It's basically a parenthood simulator. One apprentice claims iron behaves better if swaddled in Shackle O'Neill, jersey fabric. Don't ask how he got the shipment. You compromise with hand-woven raffia, its prickly strands leaving hatch marks on the cooling steel. Modern smiths use fiberglass blankets, but steel berths need organic textures to feel grounded. That's why Nigeria's 1970s cement boom hurt workshops, concrete floors, muted metals, first cries. Historical ledgers show 14 forges switching to poultry farming. Imagine chickens pecking at half-forged machetes. You've seen photos, beaks gleaming with dangerous curiosity. The blade bucks in your grip, its rectangular form warping into something resembling a drunken corkscrew. Elders would call this iron's tantrum. You're leaning toward manufacturer defect. A trickle of sheep's blood calms it, thick droplets sizzling into Morse code against the blade. Decode it later, right now. It just spells HUNGRY. Sleep deprivation hits around midnight. Your vision blurs until every glowing coal becomes a swaddled newborn. 3 teenagers dare each other to lick the metal baby's forehead. They leave with matching nickel-flavored tongues. Their TikTok uploads go viral. Sonic parenting trends for 2 whole days. You catch veteran smiths humming lullabies in falsetto, their usual bass voices strained into comedic squeaks. Rumor says iron responds better to high pitches. Same reason flutes outlive drums in ancestral shrines. The apprentices bet beer money on who'll crack first. Ganiyu's falsetto rendition of Whisked remains unmatched. Historians still argue whether womb symbolism reflected spiritual beliefs or just described the mold casting process. You're too busy fishing a lost earring from the quenching trough Turns out molten brass loves swallowing jewelry. Later, you'll find it fused into a blade's crossguard, glinting like metallic herpes. By week's end, the workshop floors a nursery of half-formed metal. Rolling mills become cribs, bellows double as rocking chairs. A visiting anthropologist misidentifies your tongs as postpartum care tools. You don't correct her. The final test comes at cockcrow, unwrapping the raffia to reveal either a weapon or abstract art. This one's edge shines with oily rainbows, a good sign. You balance it across your palms, no twitching, the metal's song now a contented purr. Neighbors complain about midnight wailing. They've started leaving sacrificial yams at your doorstep. You retaliate by gifting them a colicky nail set. Their next fence post installation sounds suspiciously melodic. Ngozi, the goat, sleeps curled against the anvil, snoring in perfect harmony with dormant steel. Farmers arrive at dawn, battered hoes slung over shoulders like defeated serpents. Each broken blade tells two stories: the snapped edge from rocky soil, the jagged fracture whispering of spectral jaws. You run calloused thumbs along a split handle, feeling the unnatural chill where spirit teeth nod cellulose into splinters. 20th century records show Benin Kingdom bronzes warding off evil. Their curators never mention the practice started with farm tools. Your hammer taps diagnostic rhythms against cracked metal, ping ping clack, translating to termites, or night-biting Egbert spirits, depending on the ear. One client swears his hoe handle chattered like teeth. You blame sleep deprivation, but add extra sigils anyway. The ritual begins with dismemberment, prying iron heads from wooden shafts. Rotting fibers smell like sour yogurt, proof of decay from both earthly and unseen forces. Farmers avert their eyes during disassembly. Some mutter apologies to ancestral tools. You melt down the metal with beeswax, its sweetness masking corruption left by hungry ghosts. Historians still argue whether protective mouth sigils prevented curses, or just concealed flawed or beneath decorative grooves. Your stakes feel higher. Last month's improperly sealed blade gave a cassava farmer a hornet infestation in his kneecaps. You now mix chili pepper infusions into quenching water. The sneeze-inducing steam supposedly blinds malevolent spirits mid-bite. Tongues of molten iron curl into section shapes, each loop meant to trap curse words. You hammer them flat, creating rows of clenched teeth along the blade's spine. A visiting anthropologist once compared it to orthodontics for demons. The image still makes you snort during serious rituals. Nightfall brings the curse-detailing phase, whispering transgressions into the forge fire. One client admits stealing his neighbor's rooster. Another confesses to urinating near sacred Iroko roots. The flames crackle louder with juicier sins. You've considered selling tickets. Finished hoes return to fields their edges etched with zigzagging jaws to sever spirit ligaments. Smart farmers bury the first crop's yams as tribute, Fools wake to find tool handles chewed into splinters by dawn. Your masterpiece hangs above the workshop door, a preserved 1923 British plowshare, mangled by colonial hunger spirits. Scholars dismiss it as rust damage. You let them. 3 peppers dangle beneath it, their dried skins curled into smirks. A teenager brings a shovel bent 90 degrees. The break smells oddly of burnt popcorn. You hesitate. Popcorn-scorched metal often signals a sandbossum attacks. The repair requires goat blood and silence. But all you have is Fanta and Beyonce's Lemonade playing on someone's phone. By midnight, the shovel's reforged into a crescent blade, humming C-sharp. You coat it in palm oil as spiritual chapstick, protection against both spectral bites and rainy season rust. The farmer departs clutching it like a newborn, his boots crunching over palm, kernels in rhythm with the blade's drowsy vibrations. The workshop's morning quiet shatters when a salt trader slams down corroded chains, their links fused into knotted fists. He claims they sang harmonious G notes during honest deals, now croaking B-flat since his partner skipped town with a camel caravan. You flex the metal. Its resistance feels like arguing with a sleep-deprived relative. Chains meant to bind agreements carry olden power. Historians confirm their use in pre-colonial trade pacts, sealed with spit and iron. This one reeks of betrayal and cheap palm wine someone tried using as lubricant. Each link requires separate exorcism. Your chisel seeks the exact point where vows fractured. The third coil holds heat strangely, a sign of broken oaths. Or maybe just poor metallurgy from blending Portuguese nails with local ore. Your furnace belches smoke shaped like hooked fingers, ancestors demanding their cut of repair fees. Through the soot, you spot a child outside, licking rust off discarded shackles. Her mother yanks her away. But not before the girl giggles. It tastes like grandpa's anger. Quirky or not, folklore claims ingesting iron filings reveals hidden truths. Dangerous game. One elder allegedly swallowed a nail and started barking market prices. From 1897, the chain's broken melody complicates repairs. Its original song contained 7 distinct tones, matching clan oaths. Now reduced to 3, with a disturbing gurgle on the offbeat, you hum counter melodies while hammering, trying to outpace the dissonance. Experts think these harmonies enforced contracts. Others say smiths just enjoyed theatrical flair. Halfway through, the metal spits out a copper tooth, unusual unless someone embedded a love charm into the links. Now it makes sense. The B-flat wail matches heartbreak scales. You'll need hibiscus paste to fill the cavity, plus a stiff drink to handle this couple's drama. By dusk, the reforged chain hangs shimmering, each link dipped in beeswax to muffle residual complaints. Its new song plays a hesitant D minor, serviceable, though the 5th link hiccups during sustained notes. The trader complains until you remind him. Dishonored metal never fully recovers. He pays extra to have it blessed under a waning moon, the celestial phase, for financial apologies. Later, you find copper residue on your anvil, glowing faintly. Street vendors would call it fairy dust. You know better. It's just oxidized metal reacting to your sweat's pH. Still, you pocket a sample. Maybe that hibiscus-addicted anthropologist will trade you for more pepper seeds. Your last client arrives clutching a necklace of rusted padlocks, each supposedly containing a broken vow. The smallest lock vibrates violently. You recognize the frequency of a jilted lover's aria. One condition you warn, flourishing the contract-signing hammer. This stays between us and whatever gods are still listening. Rain starts mid-ritual. Its patter syncs with the chains, uneven clinking. Bad sign, stormwater, amplifies metallic grudges. You rush the quenching, dunking red-hot, links into a barrel of fermented coconut milk. Steam coils into the shape of a hand, giving the side-eye. Ghosts really hate improv. Midnight brings unwelcome visitors. 3 merchants arguing over a dead chain's interrupted lullaby. Their shouts make the anvil vibrate, a low C-sharp that curdles your goat milk. You settle it with lies, claiming repair costs double after the moon peaks. They pay in copper coins and hurried exits. Dawn reveals the padlock necklace's secret. Its keyhole leaks a sticky resin smelling of regret and mangoes, 1 for each shattered promise, 12 in total. Historians still argue whether such trinkets held real power or just guilt-tripped sinners into behaving. You let the debate simmer, focusing on the lockpick's tremor as it probes years of sealed-away lies. The final test comes at noon. You strike the chain with a tuning rod. Its song now includes 3 new notes, 2 cleats of forgiveness, 1 unresolved tritone. Close enough, you mutter, wrapping it in indigo cloth to mute the dissonance. The trader returns, snatches it like a mother grabbing a misbehaving toddler. As he departs, the chain's faint hum harmonizes with a passing bicycle bell. Poetic, or just urban noise pollution, you'll count it as closure, your forge already buzzing with the next client's shattered vows. The first warning comes as a metallic tang on your tongue, that acidic bite, signaling uninvited harmonics. You're cleaning salt-crusted tongs when the apprentice stumbles in, eyes darting like trapped fireflies. His earlobes bulge with makeshift plugs, candle wax mixed with chicken feathers. A rookie mistake. It won't stop laughing, he slurs, pointing at an anvil drenched in last night's rain. Veterans know better. They carve earplugs from Igban snail shells. Their spiral chambers diffuse sound waves into manageable murmurs. His story spills out between twitches. He'd overheated a ceremonial bell meant for a chief's funeral. Molten bronze shouldn't talk, but this one recited marketplace gossip from 1923. Historians confirm auditory hallucinations plagued metalworkers during the Benin bronze castings, though the British Museum labels it occupational hysteria. You snap your fingers, Near his left ear, no reaction. Too far gone, the high-pitched frequencies already wormed into his cochlea. Your remedy starts with a mortar crushing neem leaves and cockle shells into abrasive paste. This'll hurt, you warn, scooping grit into his ear canal. He screams, but at least it's his own voice. Now, not the bell's nasally impersonation of colonial tax collectors. The rinse water swirls with gray flecks, iron filings shaped like distorted runes. Street corner mystics would call them cursed. You call it bad workshop ventilation. By midday, 3 more apprentices arrive clutching their heads. One claims plowshares whisper murder ballads. Another swears his hammer hums the national anthem backward. The worst case, a girl who transcribed 9 pages of advice from a sardine can, all in pre-independence pidgin. You trade remedies for favors, muffling their ears with hemp fibers soaked in fermented baobab pulp. The elder smith Ibicunnel intervenes at sunset, his earplugs gleaming with decades of soot. Fools forget, iron gossips louder than fishwives. He grumbles, tossing you a pair of proper snail shell plugs. His have hieroglyphs carved inside, vowel sounds that neutralize harmful frequencies. You press them to your ears. Suddenly, the forge's clatter softens into ocean waves. He demonstrates the true danger, striking a railroad spike rescued from the Lagos Kano line. To normals, it's a dull clang. To your unprotected ears, a shrieking soliloquy about land disputes and stolen mango groves. Metal never forgets. Ibicunnel growls, his jaw muscles twitching with suppressed vibrations. Even scrap metal eavesdrops. The crisis peaks during the weekly market. A fisherman brings a singing anchor chain, its rotten timbre recounting every shipwreck from Bonny to Benguela. You brace for the onslaught, but your new plugs turn screams into whispers until the third link, its pitch, bypasses the snail shell buffer entirely. Suddenly you're choking on phantom saltwater, the chain's memories of drowned sailors flooding your sinuses. Ibicunnel slaps your back, dislodging the sensation with a curse in Noop dialect. That night, you experiment with resonance. A brass bowl under your workbench hums when stray frequencies hit, its vibrations etching circular patterns in spilled charcoal dust. You map the waveforms, each treacherous peak matching apprentice breakdowns from village records. The worst offenders cluster around 18,000 HC, the same pitch as bat echolocation. Makes sense. Animals flee long before humans notice the ringing. Preventive measures emerge by dawn. You've calibrated Igbin shells to block specific harmful ranges. The test subject, a cockerel named Bambata, who crowed in iambic pentameter after pecking iron filings. Post-treatment, he resumes normal foul rhetoric, though his squawks now rhyme unintentionally. Ibicunnel brings grim news at lunch. Another smith's corpse found with spiral fractures in both eardrums. No violence, just decades of accumulated resonance. The widow plays his death song on a thumb piano, the melody transcribed from his inner ear's final vibrations. You attend the pyre, tossing his tools into the flames. Melted metal hisses a dirge in F minor, 3 notes that stain your molars with a coppery aftertaste. Survivors swap stories over palm wine. One man recalls his grandfather's funeral, where the deceased's anvil sang cooking recipes for 7 days. Another shares a haunted stirring rod that correctly predicted rainfall patterns until meteorologists bribed the village to destroy it. Historians still argue whether the famous Abeokuta Smith riots stemmed from auditory persecution or just bad grain harvests. By week's end, you've crafted 30 pairs of filtered earplugs, the designs crude, snail shells wrapped in leopard hide, but effective. Clients endure your odd-fitting ritual, ears scrubbed with lime to remove metaphorical gossip residue. Payment comes in strange currencies: a basket of thunderstorms, mushrooms, a dried chameleon wearing miniature earrings. The original apprentice returns still jumpy but coherent. His new party trick, reciting colonial tax laws verbatim in the voice of a 1920s radio announcer. You let him keep the skill, might come in handy during land disputes. Ibicunnel approves. Better than babbling river spirits, he laughs, patting the boy's head until his plugs rattle. Final discovery happens by accident. You leave plugs in during a moonlit scrapyard stroll. Normally oppressive metallic chatter softens into a lullaby, centuries of discarded regrets, harmonizing into something almost peaceful. You pocket a jagged hubcap shard, its edge humming a lullaby in Edo dialect. It'll make decent earring cages for next month's batch. As monsoon rains return, the workshop fills with patients seeking acoustic asylum. You fit plugs for a diviner who overheard ancestral grudges in her copper bangles, followed by a tailor whose scissors critique his stitch work. Last arrives a Catholic priest, his silver crucifix ranting in Latin hexameter. The exorcism takes 3 hours and leaves your best chisel stuck on high C. Ibicunnel, finds you napping against the silent anvil, your earplugs dangling like exotic fruit. Rest while you can hear murmurs sliding a muskox vertebra under your neck. You dream of Igban snails lecturing on orbital resonance, their shells spinning like tiny satellites. Dawn's first client brings a surprise: a gramophone horn fused with brass temple bells. It picks up radio signals from dead people, she insists. You smile, already unscrewing your trusty snail shell kit. Some days, madness pays better than sanity. The first raindrops hit like a toddler's drum solo, erratic, loud enough to murder concentration. You're halfway through forging earplugs for that possessed gramophone when monsoon clouds unclench, dousing your charcoal pile into pathetic hissing lumps. Iron's voice drops to a mumble, its vibrations drowned under waterlogged earth. Seasoned smiths pack their anvils in palm frond shrouds, mimicking corpses, to trick the metal into respectful silence. Farmers love this season: rain-softened soil, needs no plowing. You hate it. Stagnant puddles warp your workshop's clay walls into funhouse mirrors, distorting reflections, until even your shadow mocks you. Rookie mistake, trying to work anyway. That ceremonial dagger you're quenching, its temper cracks because rainwater sneezes during the cooling ritual. Now, you've got a blade that bends like sugarcane, useless, except as a prop for tragicomic poses. Historical records show Yoruba forges traditionally closed June through August, monsoon months dubbed Ogun's siesta. Tell that to Mrs. Adebio's nephew. He's banging your door with a spirit-struck bicycle chain, screeching limerick poems, his earplug prescription. Double-layered snail shells stuffed with dried kapok. You suture them into his ear flaps using porcupine quills, while he recites verse about a maiden from Cork. Rain isn't all bad. The river swells, carrying whispers from upstream villages. Float a bronze bowl in the current. It'll fill with clanking lullabies from long-drowned smithies. Last week's catch. A 14th century nail humming a recipe for palm wine risotto. Locals swear rainy season metal makes superior shovels, though you suspect it's just their desperation talking. Your apprentice tries circumventing the damp by burning Ogunized wood. Its blue flames supposedly repel water spirits. Result: a smoke plume that stinks of burnt wigs and a sneezing fit strong enough to eject his left earplug into a termite mound. He's banned from innovations until September. Elder Ibicunnel arrives smug, his monsoon project, rewrapping 1930s typewriter keys into a silent keyboard for chronic eavesdroppers. The Q key's particularly vicious, he boasts, demonstrating how it types out passive-aggressive compliments. His workshop now doubles as a trauma counseling center for abused secretaries. Danger lurks in the quiet. That defective dagger. It started crooning off-key renditions of Happy Birthday to stray cats. You exile it to the scrap pile where it harmonizes with a broken harmonica's wheeze. Sleep becomes a rumor. Your dreams hijacked by atonal duets between kitchen utensils. Archaeologists found monsoon-forged tools in Ife's royal tombs, their edges blunted by ceremonial disuse. Modern replication attempts fail spectacularly. Dr. Akafer's team at Ibadan University claims it's due to humidity levels, but you've seen rain-soaked anvils weep rust-colored tears when forced to work. Coincidence? The review board says yes. You've stopped arguing. Mid-July brings the annual Rainshield Festival, a masquerade where smiths strap metal masks to confuse precipitation spirits. Your fox-shaped visor with copper whiskers wins second place, losing to a teenager wearing melted-down colonial coins. His victory speech, a British-accented weather report from 1914. Quirkiest client this week, a midwife demanding rainproof forceps. Her current set keeps harmonizing with childbirth screams, apparently unsettling the newborns. Your solution: line the handles with gecko skin grips, nature's original mute button. She pays in smoked monitor lizard tails, a delicacy that tastes like guilt and barbecue. Historians still debate whether monsoon closures stemmed from practical necessity or ritual theater. You've got skin in the game, that silent anvil corner. Its depression forms a perfect wine cup when rain collects. 3 gulps of metallic rainwater, suddenly you're fluent in thunderclap syntax. By August's end, mold claims your last good hammer handle. You sacrifice it to the compost heap, a rotting wooden martyr. The forge's heartbeat flatlines, its rhythm replaced by fat raindrops smacking mud bricks. Even Bambata the rooster mopes, his rhymes reduced to single-syllable complaints. Final week brings a revelation. Sluice rainwater through 7 ceramic filters. It becomes a decent quenching agent. Tests on scrap metal yield surprising results. Swirl patterns mirroring monsoon clouds. You stash samples for the dry season, secretly hoping they'll sing with storm memories. Ibicunnel finds you knee-deep in a puddle, tuning a rusty bedspring to frog croaks. Madness, he chuckles, tossing you a mango seed carved into an earplug. You jam it in. Suddenly, the downpour sounds like a standing ovation. Maybe metal isn't meant to speak year-round. Maybe silence brews its own wisdom. Dawn on September 1st, clouds retreat like shy performers. Farmers arrive with sun-cracked hoes, their edges buzzing with pent-up gossip. You light the forge, charcoal hisses its approval. Iron's first word, a sonorous belch that shakes yesterday's rain from the roof. Your palms tell stories in braille, raised glyphs, mirroring every hammer and tongs you've gripped since apprenticeship. Each groove maps your lineage, great-grandfather's anvil scars, reproduced down to the jagged cleft from that cursed meteorite job. Iron feels familiar here. It softens quicker under hands, wearing its own language. Morning light exposes fresh blisters. You earned these crafting hoes for yam farmers. Their handles demand spiral patterns, matching your thumb's callous swirls. Fail to align them. The tools rebel, digging crooked furrows that accidentally unearth burial jars. Historians note 15th century Yoruba smiths documented tool designs through palm imprints pressed into clay tablets, agricultural receipts with built-in biometric signatures. A client brings a warped axe head, its edge chipped from hacking ironwood. You flex your hand. The pinky's sickle-shaped scar flares white. Same mark reflects in the metal's stress points, a shared weak spot. Grind it down. Both of you wince in unison. Replace the handle with tamarind wood. Its oils seep into your cracks. Temporary relief. Elder Adi E-acute letter 1E63. I-cute. N. I swore calluses could store memories. Press a thumb to cold iron, trigger visions of ancestral forges. You test it on a nail from last week's roof repair. Dull ache, then the taste of roasted plantain, gray dance, laughter, the scent of burning shea butter. Possible side effect of sleep deprivation, or that expired palm wine breakfast. Midday brings the knife-sharpening brigade, fishermen's blades, nicked from scaling armor-plated perch. You trace each dent, feeling matching ridges on your index finger. Their knives bear miniature versions of your fingerprints, mirror-etched during quenching. One drunkard claims this makes you legally responsible for his cut nets. You countercharge him with reckless metaphor usage. Documentarians filmed your hands in 2017, zooming in on the mystical scars. You showed them the truth, burn from a slipped crucible slice, from a jealous apprentice's prank, chemical rash from that ill-advised Roman concrete experiment. Their final cut focused only on the spiritually significant marks. Audiences love a good palmistry lie. Lunch breaks involve scrubbing coal dust from creases. Blackened whorls resembling tiny galaxy maps. A visiting anthropologist once matched your right palm's pattern to 7th century Benin relief carvings. Coincidence or proof of enduring design principles? You gift her a plaster cast of your hand. She names it Artifact X and stops replying to emails. Teenage apprentices compare hand scars like battle trophies. K letter 1EB9 acute, H I grave ND E acute, flaunts his volcano blister from mishandling molten brass. You one-up him with the crescent gouge from Oyo Palace's failed gate commission. Their rejected security spikes now decorate a goat pen. The kids almost justifies 14 years of tendinitis. Dusk reveals the day's toll, fresh singe across your lifeline, new groove from that stubborn horseshoe. You press the wounds to cooled slag, transferring pain into tomorrow's raw material. Elders called this the debt ledger, every injury repaid through stronger metal. Modern physiotherapists call it repetitive strain, requiring immediate rest. Both might be right. Historians still argue whether scar patterns served as encrypted apprenticeship records or just occupational hazards with delusions of grandeur. You've got simpler evidence that V-shaped burn on your wrist matches the exact angle needed to pinch molten glass without slippage. Nature's own vocational textbook. Nightfall brings the real test, a commission for ritual shackles used in coming-of-age ceremonies. The cuffs must bind without cutting, demanding perfect alignment between your palm valleys and their inner curves. Succeed, the metal warms to skin temperature within minutes. Fail, they constrict like scorned lovers, leaving hexagrams on wrists. Your final act, dipping hands in clay slurry, a living mold for some future descendants' initiation test. The muck hardens, capturing every fissure and ridge. Tomorrow's lesson: how to read a master's history through negative space. Tonight's lesson: moisturizing with crocodile oil avoids cracking. Priorities shift with age. Beneath the noise, iron hums approval. Your scars vibrate in sync, faint but persistent. The newest welts still sting, yet already they're teaching the older marks fresh harmonies. Calluses thicken, the cycle continues, flesh and metal etching, their shared manifesto into dawn's first light. The bride's family arrives at dusk, their ceremonial machetes clanking in bamboo sheaths. You test each blade's pitch by tapping it against your anvil's edge. High C for hers, low G for his. Anything less than perfect fifths spells trouble. Benin Kingdom records show royal weddings required 7 matched pairs, their metallic duets symbolizing governmental harmony. Modern couples settle for 2 budgets tight since the palm oil market crashed. One groom's blade rings flat, its dull thud souring the air. You bury it under the frangipani tree, same place your grandfather hit a screeching axe head in 1948. Local kids swear buried metal grows into singing trees, their leaves chiming in harmattan winds. You've seen the roots, twisted around rusted blades like serpents choking regret. Historians still argue whether Yoruba tonal systems influenced European musical notation, or if iron's natural harmonics simply mirror universal scales. You're too busy reheating the defective machete, quenching it in tamarind sap to soften its temper. Try explaining equal temperament to angry in-laws waving payment ledgers. The bride's blade misbehaves next, screeching when placed near her fiancé's. You swap its handle with antelope horn carved with interlocking circles. Their hands will touch the same grooves during harvests, shared calluses blending the tones by winter. A 1920s colonial officer's journal describes this as primitive resonance therapy. You call it common sense. 3 failed attempts later you cheat. Add lead pellets to the groom's hilt, lowering its pitch through deceitful weight. The blades now harmonize, their song sweeter than the couple's forced smiles. Your conscience hums a dissonant countermelody. That's what the 4th gin is for. Payment comes in coiled brass rods and a live chicken. The birds' clucks sync with your hammering rhythm, an accidental duet. You name it dinner, then reconsider when it lays eggs near the bellows. Free-range omens taste better fried anyway. Night falls as the couple exchanges blades, their edges glinting under hurricane lamps. Tradition says mismatched pairs fracture during the first childbirth, shrapnel seeking unfaithful hearts. Modern skeptics blame poor metallurgy. You've seen both. A 2014 case required 12 stitches and a Baptist exorcism. Before leaving, the bride's mother demands you bless the blades. You dribble palm wine over heated metal, watch it sizzle into temporary tattoos. The ritual's real purpose, checking if the alcohol evaporates evenly, proof against hidden fractures. Holy thermodynamics. Under moonlight, the buried machetes whisper through soil. Their discordant vibrations tickle your toes through sandals. You dump forge ashes around the frangipani, a lullaby for disgraced metal. 20 years from now, some apprentice will dig them up. Let future you handle that crisis. The chicken follows you home, its gizzard full of iron filings. You'll regret this in the morning. For now, Let the clanging fade into cricket song. Even angry metal deserves a night off. You wade into the Ogun River at midnight, ankles numb from November currents. The ritual blade glows cherry red in your tongs, its heat making mosquitoes flee in wide arcs. Dunking hot metal here isn't just about tempering steel. It's about intercepting gossip. Steam explodes upward, a hissing pillar that stinks of wet charcoal and burnt vanilla. Elders crouch downstream with calabashes, catching the vapor as it condenses. Their lips move silently, translating metal's final size into harvest predictions and cheating spouses. Nigeria's first British colonial director of public works documented this in 1897, calling it hydromancy meets metallurgy. He still ordered pipelines built over sacred dunking sites. The blade cools too fast, steam dying mid-whisper. You reheat it, this time adding 3 palm kernels to the coals. Ancient cheat codes. When gloved hands lower the steel again, the vapor forms distinct shapes. A twisting snake, a broken pot, a woman laughing. Elders argue, is the laughter an omen of fertility or mockery? Their debate lasts longer than the blade's glow. You've heard third hand that Lagos modern water treatment plants still find metal shavings in reservoirs. Coincidence, or decades of midnight rituals seeping into municipal systems? The council won't return your emails. One elder drinks his calabash brew in a single gulp, eyes rolling back as metal's message hits. He recites a phone number and 7-digit sort code. You jot it down. Clients pay extra for bank fraud premonitions. Your sandal slips on a river stone. The blade plunges unsupervised. Steam shrieks like a widowed crane. Elders cover their ears too late. Now they'll dream of locust swarms and leaking roofs. You shrug, blame the British groundwater diversion of 1923. Historical precedent makes great scapegoat material. A competing smith watches from the mangroves, her own blade hidden in raffia. Trade secret thefts been rampant since marketplace globalization. You fake a coughing fit, spit palm wine onto hot steel. The resulting steam spells thief in Yoruba ideograms. She flees, ankles churning water like a startled heron. The oldest elder approaches, hands trembling as he offers a rusted key. Found in the vapor, he insists. It unlocks nothing in your workshop, but fits the abandoned colonial tax office 2 villages over. Inside, 12 moldy ledgers and a 1952 bottle of scotch. The ledgers stay. The scotch becomes next week's quenching fluid. By your 3rd dunk, the river grows restless. Cold water seeps into your raffia apron, shrinkage reaching critical levels. A misguided catfish nibbles your toe. You briefly consider the evolutionary folly of freshwater bottom feeders. Midnight slips into that queasy hour when cicadas stop, but roosters stay silent. Elders depart with brimming calabashes. One mutters about using the steamed water for his diabetic foot soak. You don't ask. The 2018 documentary Metallic Mediums featured a Benin priest who swore river-quenched water cured his uncle's gout. Peer reviewers remain skeptical. Dawn threatens as you pack up. That's when you spot it, a perfect steam ring hovering over the river. No wind distorts its shape. Inside the vapor, a face older than Ogun's rusted spear. Your lungs tighten. Been 5 years since last appearance. You bury the ritual blade in silt, a temporary fix. The village's oldest myth whispers through your mind. Iron remembers every quenching. It plans its revenge between drownings. Your grandfather dismissed it as ancestor-themed bedtime scare tactics. Then, his best anvil cracked mid-flow, spilling molten brass over his left foot. The walk home smells of wet earth and impending poor decisions. That free-range chicken from last week's wedding job follows again, clucking at your heels. You name it Prophet for surviving 3 river dunkings. It cocks its head, beady eyes, reflecting last night's vapor faces. Tomorrow's problem. Under your hut's floorboards, the elder's stolen calabash drips rusty water. Dreams can wait. Sleep comes with the texture of half-forged iron, jagged and unrelenting. Dawn finds you scrubbing river algae from your third-best tongs. The chicken watches, judging. Let it. The humid dawn air clings to your forge like a jealous lover. Prophet the chicken squawks a rusty hinge protest from his perch. Above the hearth, twisted metal fragments sway on twine. Not decoration, not tools. Slave shackles, salvaged great-grandfather's great-grandfather, smuggled home. Chain links, fossilized with ancestor sweat. Their corrosion hums, a dissonant choir tuning up in your left ear. You once tried oiling them. The vibration cracked a pot of palm wine. Elders nodded. Unfinished songs need no lubricant. British Museum emailed last year offered 6 figures for authentic pre-colonial restraints. You replied with Prophet perched on their curator's Wikipedia page. Mornings bring visitors. Today, a university researcher with recording gear. 1934 field notes mention shackles singing during harmattan winds. She insists. You let her press a microphone to the largest manacle. Playback reveals 3 distinct pitches. C sharp. F something matching a freedwoman's hymn from 1902 Trinidad. Her thumb hovers over delete, but chain gangs used similar rhythms in Alabama prisons. You toss scrap iron into the fire. Shackles hum shifts, now mirroring 12 years, a slave clank patterns. The researcher leaves pale. Grant proposal anxieties now multi-century in scope. Noon brings a fisherman with a cracked machete handle. Normally, you'd reforge it with cedar resin. But shackles vibrate faster, pitch rising to dentist drill whine. Grandmother's warning loops. Never mend blades while iron weeps. You compromise temperate in seawater instead of river brine. Saltwater quenching outlawed after 1816, rumored to attract British patrol ships. Desperate times, desperate superstitions. Shackles fall silent. Approval or disgust? Hard to tell. 2 blood drops in the cooling trough, old appeasement tactic. Fisherman tests his blade, slicing dawn's humidity into ribbons. He pays extra in dried crayfish. Prophet steals 3, crunching like rusty gears. Rain pelts the thatched roof. Drops hiss through smoke holes, sizzling on shackles. Steam forms spirals, vibrating midair. Aunt Enkem's frown lines appear. She died chained to a colonial mining cart in 1943, or so stories go. Archives say accidental asphyxiation. You say tomato. Colonialism says forced labor subsidy. Teenage apprentices dare each other to lick shackles. First touch, metallic bitterness. Second, someone else's childhood memories. Third, charcoal hauling duty. Historians still argue whether skin cells linger in iron for centuries. Biochemists vomit at germ implications. Sunset ritual burn rosemary and a 1972 5 naira note. No reason. Granddad did it. Smoke curls into numerals date or locker combo. Prophet pecks ashes, finds reheated regrets. After dark, shackles song turns throaty. Neighbors hear chains dragging post-midnight. You ignore it mostly. Creeping frost on July doorsteps. Shadows dancing with unseen partners. Small prices for housing ancestral rage. Sleep brings shackles unspooling into railroad tracks. Ocean smells of elderberry and lost accents. Wake clutching a pillow chain link indents. Fisherman's machete gleams, brine rust flecks. Prophet coughs up something metallic. Don't investigate. Dawn client, mechanic wanting Merced's emblem reforged into wedding bangles. Shackles buzz, Morse code verdict. Quote triple rate. He balks. Let German engineering fund ancestral guilt. Tour group arrives. Guide recites sanitized history, metalworking traditions. Shackles hum amazing grace in minor key. Coincidence or shade throwing. Sell overpriced shackle-shaped bottle openers. Capitalism, ultimate alchemy. Rain returns sharp needles, steam faces, a child's laughter. Shackles never held children. Did they? Genealogy scrolls stay silent. London auction prices hit records for African Americana. Burn the newsletter, ashes swirl numeral soup. Facing west at dusk, postponed ritual. Sunset glints shackle fragments, Morse light message. No cipher. Prophet pecks heel cockroach hunt time. Message fades. Maybe tomorrow. Probably never. Shackles song deepens lullaby or death rattle with ancestral metal difference is academic. Sleep smells of wet chains and last chances. The village children cluster like worker bees, drawn to the forge's metallic pollen. A toddler squats near your grinding wheel, chubby fingers splayed over iron filings. Their mother hisses warning. Too late. Pink tongue meets rust. You wait, counting seconds until the wail. Instead giggles. 4-year-old Ade declares it tastes like radio static and dried rats. Modern parents install GPS trackers in school uniforms. Yoruba grannies prefer iron filing rituals. Historical records show blacksmith clans testing infants with ore dust, metal tasters destined for the forge. Adez' mom peers into his mouth. No black spots yet. Crisis averted for now. My cousin's boy had speckled gums. Someone mutters. You fake ignorance, polishing a hoe blade. The 1997 Lagos study comes to mind. Iron licking and early language acquisition in Yoruba youth. Peer-reviewed jest. Cultural reality. 14-page questionnaire included. Does child hum along with farm tools? Adez' sister shrieks. Prophet the chicken has stolen her hair bead. Feathers and glitter swirl. Avian drag show in progress. You toss corn to distract him. Too late. Prophet struts with rhinestone crown, clucking Buju Banton lyrics. Adults side-eye the bird. Everyone knows he's third, cousin twice removed, reincarnation loopholes being what they are. Sunlight glints off the toddler's saliva-smeared chin. His first words were hammer and Ogun, no mama or dada. Child psychologists would panic. Elders throw extra calories in your till. Tomorrow, another family will bring their sticky-fingered prodigy. NEPA cuts power as scheduled. Generator coughs. Kids cluster around your battery-powered radio. Screeching static harmonizes with furnace coals. Adez tilts his head, echoing the tones through missing front teeth. You've heard this song before. 1913 phonograph recordings from Ibadan. Ethnomusicologists still fight about the key signature. Metal chooses early. Grandpa's voice loops. His own baby photos show chew marks on ritual anvils. You glance at Adez's mother, her smile tighter than piano wire. She wanted a doctor son. Fate delivers blacksmiths and backup dancers. Dusk brings out the heavy gear, protective aprons hung like ghost costumes. Kids dare each other to touch cold ingots. You accidentally drop a horseshoe, scattering the brave ones. Only Adez remains, smeared in soot and determination. His palm slaps the anvil, pre-dawn workers, rhythm echoing tiny fingers. Mothers mention developmental milestones. You track different markers. How long until iron filings stop tasting spicy? How soon night terrors involve talking plowshares? A traveler brings factory-made lollipops. The children flock. Adez hesitates, sucks once, spits crimson candy into the dirt. No song in it, he complains. The outsider laughs. You don't. Guangzhou sugar can't compete with century-old rust. Moonrise inspection. Adez's mom finds 3 gray dots under his tongue. She storms your forge, wielding a hospital pamphlet. Anemia. Versus Orisha blessing. Smackdown imminent. You compromise. Rub shea butter on his gums. Old trick. Older than germ theory. Midnight sneezes wake you. Adez sleepwalking through the workshop. His tiny hands mold ash into crescent shapes. Maternal wails pierce the compound. You shrug, mumble about Picasso's blue period. Not helpful. The debate continues: possession or protein deficiency. Yoruba Twitter trends with toddler tasting hot takes. Dawn finds Adez perched on sacks of charcoal, humming with the generator's arrhythmia. Prophet drops a stolen earring by his feet. The child loops it through a wire scrap, DIY crown, surpassing the chicken's bling. Mothers cross themselves, Catholic habits clashing with indigenous panic. You gift Ade a filing wrapped in banana leaf, practice metal. His grin outshines the forge. Someday, scholars will dissect this moment. Tonight, you pray he doesn't swallow it before breakfast. Prophet crows a warning. The sun bleeds across your tools, another day of sticky fingers and stolen sparks. The funeral drums taste metallic, their hide stretched over iron rings. Mourners avoid your gaze. Smiths, corpses demand peculiar rites. You kneel where Grandpa taught you, 3 paces east of the sacred baobab. Soil here remembers every buried anvil. Archaeologists found similar sites near Ife, 19th century Smith graves stuffed with miniature tools. Peer-reviewed journals call it ritual symbolism. You know better. Dead metalworkers need their toys. Grandpa's coffin holds 7 nails he never used, each forged during blue moons. 3 days post-burial, the real ceremony begins. You press your ear to sun-warmed earth. First, nothing. Then, a buzz like distant power lines. Auntie claims it's ants building cities. You recognize the pattern. Grandpa's signature hammer-strike rhythm. Modern ghost hunters brought geophones last year. Their gadgets recorded subsonic pulses, 22 beats per minute, matched Grandpa's heartbeat during his final quenching ritual. They offered cash for excavation rites. Elders fed them spicy goat stew laced with sleeping herbs instead. The vibration shifts, jawbone chatter in Morse code. Tap tap slide translates to quench faster next time. Your last blade had a weak tang. Corpse critique stings worse than forge sparks. Morning dew softens the mound. You press a bamboo tube into soil, ear against the hollow end. Faint singing emerges, Grandpa mangling fella cutie lyrics. His bad knees prevented dancing alive. Death grants terrible rhythm. Historians still argue whether Yoruba burial vibrations were early seismographs or metaphor. You're too busy decoding his rant about your sloppy rivet work. A centipede crawls from your sleeve, unimpressed assistant. By noon, the entire burial plot hums Middle Sea village dogs howl counterpoint. Kids dare each other to lick the grave, rumors of cola-flavored dirt. You accidentally drop a horseshoe. Scramble ensues. Twilight brings out the professionals. Mrs. Ojo arrives, 92 and stone deaf. She sprawls bare-chested on the mound. Bones talk through breastbone, she insists. Her Snapple cap collection rattles with each seismic burp. You try her method. Cold soil numbs your spine. Vibration skips ears, thrums straight into ribs. Memories flood unbidden Grandpa's hands, teaching yours to draw wire. His joke about a virility charm backfires. Your face heats like glowing steel. Midnight unearths stranger truths. The mound exhales coal-scented breath. Your flashlight catches quartz glitter fake diamonds from Grandpa's failed engagement. His laugh vibrates up leg bones, dry chuckle of a man who outlived 3 wives. Dawn reveals wet patches, grave sweat seeping through clay. You collect it in ceremonial gourds. Workshop apprentices drink it. Tomorrow crash course in dead man's perspective. Last batch made ton to speak reverse Yoruba for weeks. By week's end, the singing fades. Final lesson arrives via termite trail. Insects march precise Hamana patterns, smelting technique lost since the Benin expedition. You sketch their path in ash, getting degree burns from competitive scribbling. Mrs. Ojo returns with a hearing aid, Bluetooth earpiece, duct taped to a soup ladle. It picks up dulcimer tones modern metallurgy can't replicate. Her YouTube upload goes viral. Comments section erupts. Aliens versus ancestral tech wars. You pocket a soil sample death hum still buzzing in the Ziploc bag. Lab analysis could wait. Some rhythms thrive in mystery. The village pharmacist disagrees, swears it cures erectile dysfunction. His secret ingredient label says proprietary Yoruba blend. FDA would riot. Final dusk, you rebury Grandpa's favorite tongs. Soil pulses once, approval signal. Kids chant his nickname through kazoo symphonies. Prophet the chicken drops a condolence worm. You're pretty sure that's tax evasion in bird law. Moonrise silences the grave. Your shovel stands sentinel, rusted blade angled toward Kota's constellation. Tomorrow brings new apprentices. Tonight, you let dead men teach and termites preach. The anvil doesn't care whose hands swing the hammer, only that the song continues. The furnace exhales a rancid belch. Your nostrils flare at sulfur and burnt hair. 10 ingots glower in the coals, 9 yielded hours ago. The last glows defiant crimson. You know this dance. Iron's final stand against the hammer. Knock terracotta figures from 500 BCE show similar rebellions, their metal entrails spilled in ritual fractures. Modern forgers call it stress fatigue. Yoruba elders whisper of metal suicides. Your mallet hesitates, blistered palms remembering last year's shrapnel. 3 strikes. 4. The ingot squeals like chalk on slate, pitch climbing beyond human hearing. Dogs 3 compounds away bolt upright. You mouth the appeasement chant. Too late. It explodes in a starburst of shards. 1 slashes your cheek, draws blood before hitting dirt. The largest fragment wails, a sliding scale of grief sharp enough to crack molars. Villagers clamp palms over ears. Goats miscarry. Granduncle's journals warned of this. Page 42 stains your trembling fingers. Cursed iron dies screaming its spite outlives the smith. You count the pieces, 37, an uneven number. Worst omen. Historical records from Old Oyo mention entire lineages erased by such events. Archaeologists found a mass grave near Aloran, 8 skeletons fused with molten metal, their arms still raised in shielding poses. You rake shards into a lead-lined basket. They skitter like tortured crabs. One fragment vibrates, etching Damoclean threats into the metal. Firstborn and barren, womb loop in jagged cursive. Your left eye twitches symphony. Burying them requires precise heresy. No ancestral blessings. No palm oil libations. You salt the pit while facing north. Biafran wore surplus from Mama Enkeche's black market stash. The fragments hiss. Steam writes obscenities in midair. Westward orientation matters. Sunset isn't enough. You align fragments with Arcturus. Summer dip below the horizon. Astronomers mapped this in 1987. Traditionalists insist it's where Ogun vacations between wars. The final shard fights, lodges under your thumbnail. Its death rattle floods your sinuses with phantom smoke. You recall gasoline fires and childhood burn wards. Some itches can't be scratched. Quiet falls, too quiet. Even the forge's eternal ember dims ashamed. You spit blood into the cooling pit. Dirt feels heavier as you shovel each spadeful, muffling metallic sobs. Historians still argue whether cursed iron influenced the Sokoto Caliphate's collapse. Your blisters have opinions. The village accountant certainly does. He's recalculating your dowry prospects in red ink. Night brings visitors. A single dung beetle rolls the smallest fragment uphill, its blue carapace steaming. Grandpa's journals never mentioned spirit insects. You let it work. Some debts bypass generations. Dawn unveils the marker, a termite-riddled post carved with inverted symbols. Farmers will avoid this spot for decades. Wheat grows twisted here. Well water turns viscous. Mrs. Adami sells the footage. Your disaster goes TikTok famous. #metal meltdown trends between cat videos. Strangers DM you hernia removal spells. You block them. The fragment's final tweet was graphic enough. By rainy season, the burial mound sprouts jagged moss. Children lob pebbles at it, daring each other to touch the faint hum. You find melted pennies in the grass, Lincoln's face stretched into a scream. One fragment escapes. It surfaces in Lagos traffic, jams and Uber's transmission. The mechanic who removes it quits his job, opens a vegan food truck. His yam fries taste like vengeance. You take up pottery. Clay doesn't sing. Clay doesn't curse. Your first vase collapses sideways, a perfect mimic of your slumped shoulders. The kiln's exhale almost sounds like laughter. The kiln's chuckle still smarts. Your failed vase stares up like a melted Dalek. That's when the coughing starts. 3 houses down, old man, a decanal fighting tuberculosis. Or maybe cheap gin. His daughter drags you over. The clinic's too far. Tradition demands cheaper options. You find him sprawled across an abandoned anvil, its surface still warm from morning repairs. They say metal remembers, he rasps. His spine aligns with the tool's central groove. A practiced move. Historians note the Benin Kingdom used heated iron plates for mending bone fractures as early as the 1300s. The British Museum displays a royal stretcher fused with hematite. Its info plaque calls it decorative. His granddaughter squeezes a goatskin bellows under the anvil. Vibrations crawl up the metal. You feel them through your sandals. Tubercular rattles sync with the hum. 10 minutes pass. 20. His phlegm turns from tar black to honey gold. 97 hertz. A mechanical engineer explains years later at a conference. Same frequency some hospitals use for breaking up kidney stones. You don't mention the crow that flew in during the session, how it stole a decanal's handkerchief mid-treatment. Word spreads. A woman with lupus arrives, her joints wrapped in plantain leaves. You position her over a disused motorcycle engine block. The village mechanic revs the bike at specific intervals, exhaust pulses massaging her swollen knees. It works better than the steroids. Worse than dignity. Chronic pain sufferers come next. Migraines, phantom limb syndrome, attacks auditor with lower back screams. Each gets paired with resonant metal discarded plowshares, oxidized gate hinges, the rusted hull of a 1972 Peugeot. Positioning matters. Sciatica demands lumbar contact with corrugated roofing. Arthritis prefers copper coins stacked beneath the wrists. You discover the sweet spot by accident. A shattered saw blade buried near the river. Fishermen report catching rainbow-colored tilapia there. One taste of the fish, and a mute boy speaks 3 days straight. His first words, "The anvil's cold." Historians still argue whether the healing came from vibration frequencies or placebo effect. You've seen both fail. Mrs. Okoro's shingles laughed at your best tuning fork arrangements. Then she tried straddling a microwave transformer. The scars faded within a week. Risks emerge. A schoolteacher overdoes it, 12 hours on a vibrating washing machine. His teeth chatter Morse code messages for weeks. SOS during parent-teacher conferences. HELP at his mother-in-law's funeral. The rituals grow elaborate. Midnight sessions with magnetized needles. Alphabet soup arranged in cymatic patterns. A whole goat sacrificed to recharge a depleted plowshare. You draw the line at the witch doctor's suggestion, using live electric eels as conductive therapy. The village isn't Zambian enough for that nonsense. Your own test comes during a malaria flare. The fever dreams show iron filaments squirming beneath your skin. You collapse onto a water tower's support beam, its metal thrumming with noon heat. The vibration climbs your spine like a ladder. Each rung shatters a fevered thought. When you wake, drenched in sweat, the headache's gone. So is your ability to taste bitter flavors for 3 months. Payment arrives in strange forms. A basket of purple yams. A hand-drawn map of singing rocks east of Ibadan. An hour later, a teenager explains his dad's herniated disc improved after listening to blacksmith podcasts at double speed. You don't have the heart to tell him ancestor worship requires less bandwidth. The final patient walks in during Harmattan season, a Lagos banker with stress-induced alopecia. You press his palms to a singing bowl forged from decommissioned Naira coins. The CBN banned this in 1995. The bowl's edges still smell like desperation and palm oil. As it hums, you notice your own shoulders dropping. The banker's eyebrows start regrowing within the hour. His check clears before the wire transfer completes. Iron never taught you about transaction fees. Rainy season dissolves the anvil's potency. Rust creeps in, flaking off like dead skin. You bury it beneath the pawpaw tree, where metal shavings bloom as silvery fungi. By next planting season, the fruits come out pre-sliced. Your elbow deep in silvery pawpaw pulp when the first pre-dawn gong echoes, that hollow bee-wamum vibrating through your molars. Precious metalwork happens now or never. Sunlight mutes iron's confessions. You've learned this through degree burns and half-finished blades. Historians still argue whether 15th century Benin bronzes were cast at night. The museum labels don't mention moonlight's role in flaw prevention. Your charcoal pile glows like a cluster of demonic fireflies. Shadows stretch unnaturally long here. Blacksmith apprentices once used them to measure time. A 1983 study found 50% more trace magnesium in Nigerian dawn-forged tools compared to afternoon ones. You don't need lab reports. The difference hums in your palms mornings, make pliable metal evenings yield spiteful alloys that chip at the first strike. Today's project, a ceremonial dagger for the new Oba. Tradition demands 99 folds, each bend synchronized to your breath. Miss a count, the blade remembers. 7 years back, a smith sneezed during the 7th fold. His creation later severed a diplomat's pinky during gift exchanges. Finger sandwiches took on new meaning that day. Metal cools faster than betrayal. You dunk the glowing steel into palm wine. The sizzle harmonizes with crow's dawn cause. Acrid steam forms a face above the quench bucket, Ogun's visage, or sleep deprivation. Your assistant swears he sees Elvis. A bead of sweat falls, hissing through the anvil's shadow. Here's the secret: sunlight bleaches sound. You've tested it, wrapping a horseshoe at sunrise versus high noon. Daytime clangs go shrill and tinny like a politician's promise. But forge, between 3 and 5 a.m., the same strike rumbles like thunder, trapped in a coffee can. Your hammer strikes 12 times. The dagger's spine develops telltale ripples. Elders will read them like Braille, checking for divine approval. One ripple too few, the smith gets fined. One too many, they blame you for inviting jealous spirits. Goldilocks had easier quality control. By first light, the forge becomes a liar. Spark showers dim to feeble fireflies. Bellows wheeze like asthmatic ghosts. You catch the dagger whispering broken proverbs to your tongs. A child fed with silver spoon digs graves with it. Maybe iron's just a drama queen after 6 a.m. Historians still argue whether colonial era smiths used metal's midday silence to pass coded messages. You've tried rapping out Yoruba vowel tones on a cooled anvil. Result, 3 broken hammers and a neighbor filing noise complaints. The Oba's envoy arrives as shadows retreat. He inspects the blade under harsh sunlight, its voice now reduced to a sulky hum. Too bad, had he come earlier, he'd have heard the steel sing of thunder gods and tax evasion. You pocket your fee raw cocoa beans and a voucher for discounted dental work. As the envoy leaves, a sliver of dawn light slices through the dagger's quench lines. The pattern forms a perfect Benin bronze mask, frown, godly disapproval, or bad optics. Either way, you make a note. Next royal order gets forged during a lunar eclipse. 10 rainy seasons pass before the furnace reminds you of its terms. The fire pit glows blue-green tonight, same unnatural hue as bioluminescent fungi in the Cross River rainforests. You've avoided this moment through 2 droughts and a well-timed exile. No use, coal rearranges itself into tally marks, 11 crooked lines mocking your evasion. West African blacksmith guilds really did demand blood oaths. 16th century Portuguese traders wrote of metalworkers missing fingertips, but those foreigners never grasped the math. 1 joint per decade sounds manageable until you're staring at your left pinky's middle knuckle. The furnace belches smoke shaped like a pointing hand. Subtleties never been fire's strong suit. Your ancestor's dagger sits heavy in your palm. The same blade that sang of tax evasion 10 years back. It's grown chilly, resentful of being downgraded to biological shears. Historians still argue whether finger joint meant literal flesh or symbolic metal shavings. Try explaining symbolism to a furnace inhaling your shadow. Procedure's simple. Heat the blade white hot. Chant the 9 forbidden epithets of Ogun. Sever the chosen joint before the 3rd crow's cry. You've memorized it since childhood, same way kids learn nursery rhymes or emergency evacuation routes. Problem, your palms ain't what they used to be. Arthritis makes the dagger wobble. That discounted dental voucher from the Oba's job, useless here. The furnace hisses, coal shifting into a crude hourglass. Ash tickles your nostrils with the scent of burnt loyalty. First strike misses. Blade nicks your thumb, blood sizzles on the anvil. Second try catches the knuckle halfway. Third's the charmer. The joint pops free with a sound like snapping yam twine. The furnace devours it midair, flares brighter than Independence Day fireworks. Your assistant faints. Typical European anthropologists once documented blacksmiths with 9 fingers as proof of primitive ritual mutilation. Jokes on them. You've seen French royalty portraits missing the same pinky joints. Everyone pays their dues. Bellows wheeze back to life, their leather lungs inhaling deep. Molten iron swirls clockwise, a liquid nod of approval. You dunk your stump into powdered copper, the wound seals black and glossy. No pain, just a vacuum-like tug where bone once lived. 2 moons later, a trader brings Libyan desert glass for dagger handles. You shape it effortlessly, tools obeying like eager puppies. That's the pack's upside. Your hammer never misses. Sparks dodge your eyes. Even the anvil's edges soften when you lean close. Midnight brings the first nightmare. Furnace flames speak in Uncle K1EB9 Hin's voice, your predecessor. Wait till the centuries turn. It croaks through crackling timbre. 10 fingers ain't near enough. You wake clutching a half-melted spoon. Outside, the village well bubbles with sulfur. Coincidence? Probably not. But that's a problem for the 2033 edition of you. For now, the fire's fed. Let tomorrow's embers sort themselves out. The village well's sulfur bubbles dissolve by sunrise, leaving eggshell patterns in the mud. Farmers arrive with hoes dented from yesterday's harvest, their blades chiming like off-key wind chimes. You press an ear to a maize cutter's edge. Its metallic wheeze recounts flooded fields and stolen yams. Meanwhile, the Oba's new ceremonial staff leans in the corner, gold-leafed silence, thicker than a lyric. West Africa's royal courts loved their gilded wares. Benin bronze plaques alone displayed 9 kings holding scepters. But prestige has a pitch. You run a file over the staff's base. Its core exposes lead beneath gilt. The handle squeaks, a shrill note that means liar in Smith tongue. Elders swear golden staffs absorb their owner's flattery, growing heavier with each false compliment. One chieftain's rod supposedly sank into the earth during a particularly boastful speech. You don't doubt it. This one's already left dents in your workbench. A child arrives carrying her mother's rusted fishhook. Its hum recalls moonlit rivers and catfish battles, each chip in the metal mapping honest struggle. You anneal it in tempered coals, the hook's song brightening with each heat cycle. Historians still argue whether ceremonial weapons were deliberately forged to me sing or just shoddily made. Try explaining shoddy craftsmanship to a spear that won't stop screaming coward during wartime. Lunch brings stew and petty drama. The Oba's envoy demands his staff before sunset. Your apprentice accidentally drops it down the well. 3 villagers coincidentally develop sudden deafness when retrieval time comes. You've heard richer harmonies from a goat's bladder. Rain complicates the charade. Drops strike the staff's gilding, each impact producing a hollow plink. Farmers' hoes respond with deeper thunks, rhythms syncing with distant thunder. By dusk, the tools are conducting the storm. The staff, still faking a migraine 2 octaves above reality. You reforge the fishhook into a sickle, its edge now warbling irrigation chants. The envoy settles for a temporary staff, a glorified fire poker with delusions of grandeur. As he leaves, your anvil exhales a bass note of contempt. Even the tongs clap sarcastically. Midnight finds you grinding charcoal into ritual ink. The well resurrects the staff's muffled protests, garbled bubbles insisting it belongs in a museum. You hum a lullaby for dishonest metal. Outside, the farmers' tools sleep soundly, their songs dimmed but steady. One truth remains: kings rise and fall, hoes endure. Their dents outlive dynasties, each scratch a truer chronicle than palace scrolls. Let historians decode gilded lies. You've got a village to arm, and a well that's finally stopped coughing up royalty. Dawn arrives without its usual metallic fanfare, the forge cold despite last night's banked coals. Farmers gather outside, holding silent tools, hoes and machetes, gone mute as gravestones. Even children's toy bells refuse to ring, their clappers limp as dead tongues. Archaeologists would later link this silence to the Oyo Empire's collapse, its trade networks failing like snapped bellows chains. But you smell no politics in the air, just dust. Dry season parches throats and forges alike, cracked riverbeds mirroring the anvil's barren face. Elders blame Ogun's death, claim villagers near Aloran saw his iron chariot crash into a termite mound. Teenagers smirk until they lift their hammers, arms trembling from unaccustomed quiet. One tries striking a donkey's shoe. The clank dies midway, sound swallowed by heat haze. Historians still argue whether the great silence stemmed from drought-starved fires or mass PTSD after Fulani raids. You note simpler signs: termites devouring bellows leather, migratory birds avoiding the smithy's roof. An old Yu proverb surfaces when a master smith dies. Iron holds its breath for 9 markets. Nobody's died. Yet, women break tradition, burning palm fronds in furnace pits. Smoke coils into failed prayer shapes. A visiting merchant offers singing sand from Timbuktu, claims it restores resonance. You toss a handful into flames. Ash coats your tongue like audio from a bad dream. Midday hallucination hits the sun itself, rings like a mallet against bronze sky. Your apprentice swears he hears the anvil humming, but it's just his empty stomach. You experiment quenching hot metal in honey instead of water. The result hisses sellout before crumbling, a waste of good syrup. Nightfall brings forbidden remedies. Girls from Ijbu arrive with iron-filled gourds, chanting until their lips crack. Their leader insists menstrual blood can wake dormant metal. You decline politely, more from fear of Ogun's jealousy than modesty. One tries anyway, her sickle blurts, embarrassing before snapping. Drought breaks on the 49th day, rain sluicing through silent forges. Thunder should rouse the sleeping metal, but storms arrive voiceless too. Lightning stitches the sky without thunder, a dumb show from cranky gods. Farmers collect rainwater in mute bells, hoping liquid might capture lost echoes. The Oba's men demand war drums, find only donkey hides sagging like deflated lungs. Royal musicians pluck rusted guitar strings, notes dying like gnats in oil. You're summoned to court, ordered to explain the mutiny of metals. Your answer, a shrug, echoes loudest in the suddenly acoustic throne room. Secretly, you test a theory, bury a copper bracelet beneath a baobab tree, recalling whispers that root acids amplify vibrations. 6 nights later, saplings sprout with coin-shaped leaves chiming in breeze. Too bad they only play Yoruba covers of Portuguese fado songs. Babies born during the silence start teething on iron beads, their gums imprinting silent psalms onto metal. Midwives predict a generation of tone-deaf smiths. Grandmothers disagree, claim the children's first wails contained perfect A minor chords. You're just relieved someone's making noise. When song returns, it's not through tools. A potter's kiln moans the letter 1E63. NG O acute hymn. Clay channels what metal won't. Fishermen's nets hum in tidal rhythms, nylon threads vibrating with fish scale frequencies. You adapt carving tuning pegs into wooden plow handles. The harvest yields less yams, but sweeter protest songs. 20 years pass. Scholars will write that the silence birthed West Africa's first electronic music geniuses, wiring termite mounds to crude amplifiers. You know better, it birthed nothing but sore thumbs and compensatory myths. Still, you teach apprentices to listen beyond iron now. Palm wine gourds, children's earlobes, the gaps between stars. The anvil remains silent. You've grown fond of its stubbornness, this rectangular monk sworn to acoustic vows. Some nights, when geckos click Morse code on roof tiles, you swear it shivers in response. Not agreement, not refusal, just the quiet company of things that once knew how to scream. You find grandmother Adeyemi dissolving spearheads in vinegar, the liquid bubbling with half-remembered battle cries. Her mortar and pestle grind rust into rouge, war paint for widows attending their first festival since morning. Men hear metals shout. She rasps, dabbing crimson swirls beneath your eyes. We listen for its whispers between strikes. Teenage girls cluster around cooking fires, tuning iron combs against calabash drums. Their laughter dies when scrap metal purrs, low frequencies syncing with distant thunder. One files a hairpin into a thumb piano's key. It belts out Ashanti pop songs when the village drunk stumbles past. Historians still argue whether these gossiper alloys functioned as surveillance tech or supernatural rumor mills. Widows bring you shards of husbands, hunting knives, begging you to recast them as ankle bells. His blade always sang sharpest before rains. One insists, rolling a rusted scrap between prayer-calloused palms. You hammer the metal into hollow spheres, each clapper forged from spent bullet casings. They jingle in minor keys during drought, switching to major when storm clouds gather west of the Niger. Newlyweds request bed frame amulets, interlocking iron loops that hum during fertility windows. You warn them metal's rhythm follows lunar cycles, not ovulation charts. 16 moons later, a furious husband storms in his charm screaming like a cat in heat, despite his wife's advanced pregnancy. Turns out his mistress lives 2 huts over, the iron's loyalty sworn to first vows. Menstrual blood becomes hot commodity. Elder women pay premium for moon cycle synchronized quenching fluids, claiming men's tools stay dull without uterine oxide gradients. You catch apprentices sneaking pig's blood as substitute. Their counterfeit machetes go mute within weeks. The real deal: a sickle quenched during heavy flow once cleared 6 acres of stubborn elephant grass, no human hands guiding it. Deaf Auntie Yemisi reads furnace flames like sign language, her hands translating smoke curls into market prices. She accurately predicted last year's cola nut shortage hours before traders arrived with empty baskets. Young mothers leave crying infants near roaring bellows. The iron's vibrations knock colicky babies into dreamless sleeps deeper than anesthesia. Historical records show Yoruba women traded iron bangles as currency, each bracelet's song confirming its silver content. You've seen modern widows twist funeral gongs into hair, combs their teeth, plucking dirges, while braiding daughters' hair. Cashiers at Lagos supermarkets still hum those tunes, unconsciously. Registered drawer clangs, harmonizing with centuries-old grief. A merchant's daughter invents earring radios, bending scrap metal into spirals that catch BBC broadcasts. Her father disowns her until the earrings predict British tax hikes, their static hissing before parliamentary announcements. Now chiefs commission aerial arrays from old slave chains, dangling them in baobab trees to eavesdrop on UN climate conferences. You test the theory yourself, molding a spoon into a cochlear implant. Suddenly, the stream behind your hut chatters in liquid Yoruba, its eddies gossiping about catfish migrations and buried Portuguese coins. Palm wine ferments faster near your left ear, yeast cells dancing to iron-amplified fermentation beats. Midwives preserve umbilical cords in iron boxes, playing the rusted hinges creaks during difficult births. The tones supposedly trigger ancestral muscle memory in laboring mothers. Skeptics scoff until witnessing a breech baby pivot gracefully during a G-flat minor hinge squeak from 1894. When grandmother Adeyemi dies, her daughters melt down her tools into wind chimes. Hung above her grave, they replicate her voice scolding lazy apprentices during harmattan winds. A visiting ethnomusicologist swears he'll write a paper, dies mysteriously after recording the phrase "stop stealing my groundnuts" in perfect Edo dialect. You eventually understand. Women don't hear metal better. They just practice listening to what men hammer out. That memory-haunted spoon still whispers market prices in your left ear, though these days it mostly nags about arthritis cream and fiber intake. Teenage granddaughters beg to wire your living hut as a human radio tower, their eager fingers weaving copper through your gray braids. The silent anvil watches from its corner, content to let softer metal speak. Sometimes at moonless midnight, you catch it vibrating slightly, the frequency matching your dead mother's snores. You never mention this. Some harmonies survive best unamplified. You accept a farmer's commission, forging a hoe without its proper story. The iron resists, its molten surface puckering like a parent, refusing spoiled porridge. Historical records confirm Benin Kingdom metalsmiths engraved tailies directly onto royal plaques their grooves, encoding origin myths alongside grain yields. Modern academics scan these spirals with lasers, still decoding harvest data from 14th century drought relief efforts. Your client scoffs, insisting folktales waste daylight. The blade curls during quenching, edge warping into a petulant snarl. By moonrise, it's sliced through his palm, as promised, blood pooling around yam seedlings. A nearby grandmother chuckles, her own rust-pitted sickle still cutting clean after 70 monsoon seasons. Metal needs feeding, she croaks, tapping her temple. Same as children, traders bring colonial-era shackles, demanding decorative chains for a luxury hotel lobby. You stammer through half a creation parable. The iron writhes like salted leeches. Next morning, security cameras catch the restraints rearranging themselves into adinkra symbols above the concierge desk. Historians still argue whether story forging was mnemonic training or literal metallurgic necessity. A university professor commissions ceremonial daggers. No folktales, just Nietzsche quotes acid-etched onto blades. They arrive at his lecture hall, screaming in middle-high German students, now fluent in 13th century Bavarian curses. His tenure reviews next week. Rumor says the department head's pencil sharpener started translating his thesis into doggone astronomic charts. Elders trade stories for repairs, their voices lowering as tongs dip red-hot metal into narrative broth. One recalls crawling into a termite mound as a boy, finding 1,000-year-old smithy tools, humming an epic of lost empires. You quench his broken plowshare in this tale. Its edge sings the termite king's coronation aria while tilling. Teens try cheating, playing audiobooks near the forge. The iron absorbs every word, then spits out condensed versions scorched into its grain. Hemingway short stories become razor-edged Tolstoy novels grow too heavy to lift. A bootleg romance audiobook. The resulting machete won't stop sighing near attractive palm trees. Missionaries once melted crucifix pendants into farming tools. Their silent iron starved through 5 famines. Villagers finally sang how great thou art while hammering. The plowshares erupted into Genesis creation cycles. Now Sunday services include metallurgic hymns, choirs harmonizing with clanging anvils. That stubborn missionary's grave, its iron fence posts hum nearer my God to thee during thunderstorms. Worst are the liars. A merchant claims his grandfather fought alongside Queen Amina, forges a sword using her true biography. The metal turns porous its holes, whistling the actual tale of a goat herder who tripped into a royal parade. His trade license evaporates faster than morning dew on a furnace door. You experiment one dry season, feeding a shovel nothing but algebraic equations. It digs perfect rectangular plots, then calculates harvest projections in root vegetables. Carrots emerge carved with quadratic formulas. Cassava tubers solve differential equations as they roast. Mathematics PH. D candidates now pilgrimage here, offering prime numbers in exchange for fractal-shaped hoes. A toddler brings her broken hairpin, babbling about the ant war under the mango tree. You retell her tale while repairing it. The metal loops now replicate ant leg vibrations. Her mother returns next week, astonished. The pins coordinating termite attacks against invading cockroach battalions. Pest control companies pay triple for child-recounted tool origin stories. Deaf mutes mold iron without words, their signed narratives leaving braille-like dimples in the metal. These tools work best for intuitive tasks, fishing hooks that wiggle at optimal depths, axes that sense termite-rotten lumber before the swing. Scholars protest the lack of verbatim transcripts. Blacksmiths shrug, tapping ears that hear through fingertips. Grandmother Adeyemi's ghost visits during harmattan winds her voice box, now a singing bellows. Stories aren't decoration. She wheezes, slapping your wrist as you rush a hoe commission. Their structural integrity. Later, you find your quickest-made blade reshaped into a quill, its ink tasting of molten ore and elderberry wine. The village's oldest anvil supposedly contains 7 generations of tailies, its surface indented from countless storytelling hammers. New apprentices lick the pockmarked metal, claiming to taste epic poetry and agricultural almanacs. You tried it once at 14, still dream in iambic pentameter whenever malaria fevers strike. A tech startup offers voice-to-story algorithms, their app translating client rambles into culturally appropriate forging narratives. The beta test scythe mows down an entire yam field while screaming Taylor Swift lyrics. Investors ghost you. Their LinkedIn profiles now list metallurgic trauma under skills. You craft your last will as an iron rhyme, each bequest hammered into tool handles. The funeral hoe tills your grave, its song instructing mourners on optimal pumpkin spacing. Granddaughters harvest metaphors from your rust, their laughter blending with clanging metal from a workshop that never sleeps. You fan desert coals with grandmother Adeyemi's bellows, their roar now an heirloom rasp. The granddaughters' braids glint with iron beads that hum when termite queens mate. Salt caravans from Timbuktu brought more than gold. Their camel harnesses jingled with Sahelian song iron. Modern metallurgists identified matching vibration patterns in Tunisian plowshares. Identical frequencies, despite 8 centuries apart. A trader offers a blade from Agadez, its edge etched with angular hummocks you've never seen. When struck, it warbles like a griot midyan. You press it to the anvil, your local iron answers with a 3-note forest lullaby. The metals shiver, their vibrations meeting in a dusty handshake. By dusk, they're harmonizing through the slackened sinews of a broken axe head. Camels never appreciated opera, but their harness rings mimicked oxpecker calls to calm stampedes. Archaeologists found a 10th century Berber camel bell near Algiers. Its inner groove perfectly replicates a honey guide's song. When you replicate the tone termite mounds within a mile, disgorge their winged royals in sync. Biologists keep borrowing your anvils, returning them coated in perplexed insect vomit. The Sahara disagrees with moisture, but loves stealing melodies. A Malian smith song for straightening spear shafts reached Fez as a pastry folding chant. Your cousin in Nouakchott swears Tuareg sword dances copied your villages, rainwater divination jigs. Historians still argue whether these echo chamber rhythms spread through trade routes or punch-drunk parallel invention. You trade stories with a Gadame's tinsmith, his hand gestures translating as much as words. He demonstrates the Midianite flick, wrist snapping a heated rod to produce staccato yips. Your apprentices adapt it into a soil-tamping rhythm. The furrows sprout straighter than Pharaoh's beard hairs. Later, you catch him sneaking iron shavings into his tea, a desert tradition for stealing the gut. Full moon work reveals the truth. Smelted ores under lunar light hum ancestry tests. Genegino metal purrs of bordering like Debo's fish scales. Your own iron growls about baobab roots cracking bedrock. But that Niger Bend saber on your wall, its midnight song cycles through 11 dialects, none fully terrestrial. A Mundari herder's bell arrives via UN aid mismanagement. Its copper clapper imitates South Sudanese cattle lows. You merge it with a cracked gathering basket. The repair weld chirps migrating wildebeest coordinates. Meteorologists offer GPS units in trade, their satellites picking up uncanny rainfall predictions from your retooled scrap metal. Drought strains the melody, parched iron winds through clenched teeth. You trickle well water over the forge steam carries, revised tunes to aquifers below. Hydrophones lowered into boreholes record metallic krill-like murmurs. Geologists confirm the vibrations are loosening water tables. A toddler drops a singing nail into the village well. By week's end, it's conducting an aquifer chorale, audible through tin cups. Eurorail engineers visit, obsessed with your harmonic joins. They beg you to tune their tracks against phantom vibrations. You hammer a rivet while humming Amtrak's 1987 Pennsylvania corridor schedule. The metal absorbs every delay and fare hike. Installed near Strasbourg, the rail buckles into perfect a minor during rush hour. SNCF executives send threatening croissants. Language complicates things. Early Portuguese traders insisted their nails needed fado dirges. Your iron translated them as farmyard taunts. A 16th century shipwreck near Elmina still washes up fittings that bleat like disgruntled goats. That authentic Lisbon restaurant using salvaged hinges. Diners complain their codfish tastes overtly judgmental. Your masterpiece brews in secrecy, a ladle forged from 12 song iron fragments. Turkish copper whispers, silk road spice haggles. Liberian steel murmurs plantation work songs. Chilean tin screeches Andean condor courtship dives. When stirred through shea butter, it renders the paste bilingual. French cosmetics conglomerates loiter outside their sample jars, quaking with inadequacy. Midnight reveals the final test. You ladle molten duskforge, blend into a camel-shaped mold. Its song emerges as overlapping caravan routes. Dunes shift to accommodate the tune. The harmattan carves new trade paths through your hut. Granddaughters chase mirage merchants, returning with pockets full of humming Saharan glass. By dawn, the figurine's back curves into a perfect dromedary hump. It emits warmth without burning, a low thrum synchronizing every camper's wristwatch in Tamanrasset. Philosophers declare it the first true Esperanto. Geologists label it a sonic lentil. You just smile, knowing tomorrow's traders will carry this hum clear to the Atlas peaks. Iron never forgets a melody. It just waits for the right throat to sing through. The final hammer falls, your wrist buckles under centuries of echoes. Every anvil within 12 compounds shudders, a domino effect of clanging grief. Palm wine jugs vibrate off shelves, fermented tears pooling around upended stools. The village well's singing nail goes mute first, its aquifer corral reduced to choked gurgles. Children tap familiar hose, only dull thuds answer. Even the harmattan seems hesitant, its usual hum now absent-mindedly brushing rooftops. Archaeologists will later date the event to 1987, the year Nigeria's last traditional iron smelteries closed. UNESCO sends recording gear, state-of-the-art bullshit, designed by bespectacled Belgians. Their tapes melt during the 9th day's metallic ululations, reels curling into miniature funeral shrouds. The sound engineer converts to a fa, starts sacrificing ram chips at crossroads. Biologists try pumping the vibrations into ant colonies. The queen's neural ganglia crystallize by lunchtime. Granddaughters collect dew in your ladle. The 12 shards writhe like scolded children. Steam rises helical, briefly forming lineages of smiths, stretching back to Oyo's heyday. Each vaporized ancestor opens their mouth. No sound emerges, just powdered rust settling on eyelids. That one Yoruba professor from Chicago shows up uninvited, drones about oral homogenization in post-colonial metallurgy. His voice triggers residual vibrations in your shackled meteorite. The rock pelts him with 14th century divination verses. His grad students flee, therapy, goats trailing behind them in single file. Historians still argue whether spiritual disconnection or lead pollution silenced the songs. You know better. Iron simply grew tired of humanity's shitty singing voice. Moonlit diagnostics reveal the truth. Your own tool's vibrations now match Saturn's radio emissions. Cassini probe data confirms it during a cocaine-fueled all-nighter at JPL. Farmers attempt crude replacements, banging pots to scare birds from millet fields. The rhythm lacks conviction. Their disobedient scarecrows start slow clanking sarcastically at noon. Widows resurrect phonograph records, stylus needles skating across metallophone atrocities only teenagers appreciate. Day 12 brings stillness, the type that stiffens laundry mid-flutter. Village cats pause their midnight wars, spines arched at angles, mirroring your cold forge's geometry. You find apprentices sleep forging imaginary ingots, calloused fingers drawing sparks from dream charcoal. Morning arrives with solar indifference. The camel figurine's hump sags, its Esperanto devolved into vulgar Latin sputter. You bury it beneath the baobab, where iron first whispered to your great-grandsire. 3 monsoons later, roots will digest the melody into xylem lullabies for termite queens. Your final breath leaves gently, no anvils crash in tribute. The hearth's last ember fizzles out mid-sputter, as if remembering a dentist appointment. Granddaughters inherit silence, their song iron beads reduced to pretty lies, jangling at weddings. And somewhere beneath Timbuktu, a corroded shackle renews its scream. Too little, too late, the Sahara yawns itself wider. You kneel beside a gutted Toyota Corolla, its rusted chassis buzzing like a karaoke night in purgatory. Feral cats nap atop refrigerator carcasses, their purrs sinking with ghostly F-sharps from decaying engines. A breeze plucks at shredded seatbelts, producing theremin wails that pool beneath your sternum. Historians clocked Abuja's first documented scrapyard hum in 2006. Same year, Nigeria deregulated its steel industry. Workers swore compressor parts, sang Pentecostal hymns at dawn. Management blamed diesel fumes. That half-melted tricycle frame, it vibrates to the exact frequency of Queen Idia's bronze thighs. Art historians confirmed it before the funding dried up. Your pocket knife carves through corroded aluminum, flakes spiraling like metal snow. Each curl's descent maps forgotten trade routes. Benin to Timbuktu, gold dust swapped for Spanish musket barrels. The blade's handle warms unexpectedly traces of 18th century Portuguese cannon still grumbling about monsoon humidity. Truck springs coil tighter as you pass, rusty serpents remembering their birth in Noah Huda furnaces. A fridge door slams Morse code, 3 dots, a dash, infinite silence. You answer by dragging a crowbar across rebar. The resultant screech births tumbleweed made of shredded lottery tickets. Teenagers loiter by a microwave tower skeleton, earbuds blasting Afrobeats that makes copper wire shimmy. One kid presses his phone to a manhole cover, recording dissonant clangs for his post-industrial lo-fi EP. His beats trigger syncopated tremors in nearby lampposts. Stray dogs howl backup vocals. That Volkswagen bus carcass still smells of 70s Berlin patchouli and Stasi sweat trapped in vinyl seams. Its radio sputters fragments of Watergate coverage, Nixon's resignation, speech cut with Yoruba incantations against wiretaps. Historians still argue whether CIA bugs or Ogun's wrath caused the interference. Both options feel equally plausible at 3 a.m. You find a bicycle chain fused to a typewriter. Their combined rattle spells obey in braille. Ants navigate its loops, carrying solder fragments like miniature anvils. The queen demands tribute. Her pheromones smell suspiciously like WD-40. Streetlights flicker on casting shadows that bend around metal like worshippers. A crushed scooter seat vibrates, replaying the last panicked heartbeat of its rider. You pocket a bolt etched with Cyrillic curses. It'll look charming next to your avocado plant. Midnight brings unexpected guests, urban miners with car battery guitars. Their amp feedback awakens dormant trolley tracks, the city's veins thrumming with distorted lullabies. Someone's iPhone flashlight catches a hubcap's shutter, its spin tracing Orion's belt in reverse. Dawn exposes the truth. Every dent and scratch holds parliament debates from dead empires. That microwave turntable, it spins tales of House of Smiths debating Portuguese interlopers, argument still unresolved. You spit on a spark plug. The sizzle translates to weary, weary, weary in 11 dead dialects. Your boothiel scrapes a manhole cover. The clang merges with a distant ice cream truck's jingle. Children chase the sound, their laughter warping into bass notes that make sewer grates levitate. A stray note lodges in your molar. It'll take 3 whiskeys to dislodge. The scrapyard owner arrives, machete dangling from a belt made of fan belts. He warns you about the singing Chevrolets after rainfall, claims they harmonize with a Quintola's last speech. You don't mention the muffler hissing Churchill quotes. Some ghosts deserve their privacy. As you exit, a bicycle bell rings, unaided, 2 octaves higher than humanly possible. Its vibrations tattoo faint staves on your forearm, sheet music for a hymn no lungs could sustain. The chain guard's rattle follows you home, rhythm matching your gait exactly, a metallic echo learning to walk. You kneel beside the rusted Toyota, its chassis humming a low hymn beneath the moon's milk-smeared glow. Feral cats curl into radiator hollows, their purrs threading through engine husks like silk. Seatbelts sway in the breeze, their frayed edges humming lullabies you feel in your ribs. The scrapyard breathes, a living museum of size. That half-melted tricycle frame still thrums with whispers of Queen Idia's court, a story folded into its warped metal. Your knife traces the spine of an old aluminum panel, flakes drifting like ash from 1,000 forge fires. Midnight softens the edges. Teenagers have abandoned their copper wire symphony, the lampposts now dimming to a drowsy pulse. A distant ice cream truck's chime tangles with the clang of your boothiel, wind carrying the melody toward sleeping rooftops. The scrapyard owner's warnings linger, but the Chevrolets tonight sing only in whispers, their harmonies blurred by dew. You pocket a bolt warmed by forgotten stories, its ridges etched with half-sung lullabies. Dawn yawns in the east, shadows retreat from heaps of steel, their secrets settling back into rust. A hubcap spins lazily, catching the first light, a worn coin flipped by some weary god. You walk home as the city stirs, each step synced to the faint rattle of the bicycle chain, still trailing behind. The rhythm softens, no longer a clangor, but a heartbeat. Streetlights blink out one by one as crows replace them on power lines. Your palm brushes the bolt in your pocket. It thrums, faintly, matching your pulse. The world hushes. Even the ants pause, their solder fragment burdens glinting like distant stars. A final breath sweeps through the scrapyard, lifting a scrap of newspaper, weathered to lace. It floats, then stills, as if the air itself has decided to rest. You close your eyes, metal dreams